Warm greetings from the High 10. It's Everyday Shenanigans, and thanks for joining me. Hope you all are safe out there. Hope you have a wonderful and blessed weekend. It's very hot here in the High 10, and I'm sure it's very hot in other places in the United States. So please stay cool and hydrated. This live is pertaining to the disappearance of Summer Wells. She has been missing 1 year now, and I will bring you the said commentary with a source per audio and articles pertaining to the said information. I will also play an update by TBI on the status of the case, where it's going. Thank you all so much for joining me. News Channel 5 is my first source.
Reporting a year ago this week, 5-year-old Summer Wells disappeared from her East Tennessee home. So many of you have followed this case, and the search continues even today. News Channel 5's Nick Barras joins us from the 5 Alert Center with the very latest on this tragic case. Nick, still no sign of Summer.
No sign whatsoever, despite so many intensive searches. And the Amber Alert remains in effect still now, some 12 months later. It was a year ago this week that she did disappear. Here is the latest. We know the search does continue for the little girl. WJHL reports, in fact, just this past weekend, teams were out again searching in the wooded area around her Hawkins County home there in East Tennessee. Authorities do consider all options still. Could there have been an abduction? Possibly. Did she just wander away? Was there an attack by an animal from somewhere in those nearby woods? Really, at this point, nothing has been ruled out. But again, a year later, no word right now on any new leads. And you see the video of all the searchers that were out and about this all over the past 12 months. Hundreds of people, including members of the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office, the TBI, and Churchill Rescue Squad have searched a wide area around the family's Beach Creek home there, and nothing. No one, again, is giving up. Searches will continue, and the TBI has said that the Amber Alert will remain up until the child is found.
Are you or someone you know living with diabetes?
All right. Thank you all so much for joining me. That's News Channel 5. Everything is still the same. Nothing new. No new information pertaining to the disappearance of Summer Wells. I will now play you information by WBIR Channel 10 News. This is a local Knoxville, Tennessee station. This was uploaded 1 day ago. This is information per TBI. Thank you so much for joining me. Try to get it loaded up here. Hope you all are well. Yes, this is a very early morning live. I'm a little late bringing you the information, but nonetheless, everything is still the same so far. So we will go from there. TBI, thank you for joining me.
Available digital evidence has been collected, searched, and documented. This includes the social media accounts of those associated with Summer. 3 large ground searches have taken place in the last year with the assistance of more than 100 local, state, and federal agencies. Those searches do not account for the numerous targeted searches done by agents and detectives as they were following up on potential leads. From TBI alone, more than 100 agents, intelligence analysts, and support staff from across the state have been involved in this case. TBI agents working alongside the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office and the FBI have conducted nearly 170 interviews during the investigation. That does not count the hundreds of phone calls made to follow up on tips reported to law enforcement. While investigators have been diligently working to find answers, they've had to deal with thousands of tips generated by false information that in some cases has been intentionally spread across social media platforms. We know that this case has attracted the attention of individuals across the country who genuinely care about Summer and want nothing more but to help us find answers. We appreciate those people. However, we are also aware that there are some people using this case for their own personal gain by spreading false information on social media posts as facts. Some go as far as to solicit donations. This has had a major impact on the investigation and not in a good way. Moving forward, we ask the public not to submit tips as a result of a video they viewed on YouTube or a theory they've seen posted on Facebook. Please help us and only call if you have direct, specific information about the disappearance of Summer. This investigation weighs heavily on us all, and I can promise you that no one wants answers more than we do, and we are not going to stop until we find them. I'm going to turn it over to Sheriff Ronnie Lawson.
Good morning. As Leslie mentioned, we didn't expect this case to be going on a year later. It's heartbreaking to me and my officers and the entire community. We've never stopped looking for Summer. We'll continue to do so. There's never been a case in the history of Hawkins County Sheriff's Office that had officers working 365 days and had so many hours spent we had in this investigation. Also, this office never utilized so many different local, state, and federal agencies from across the state. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, the Federal Bureau of Investigation assists us in every step of this investigation. As you heard Leslie say, thousands of hours have been invested in finding Summer. Thousands of them. 170 interviews have been done. Many of these individuals have spoken to more than one time. While we haven't said a lot about the details about the investigative actions that's taken place, please know that we've never stopped. I deeply appreciate the many rescue squads, the EMAs, and the volunteer fire departments for their help. The support from the citizens and the communities of this county is just unbelievable and overwhelming. With the encouragement we get, with the food during the searches we've done, and all the law enforcement officers, agencies throughout the state of Tennessee, it's just phenomenal how everybody pitched in and helped us with these searches and with this investigation. And many of you have asked why that we didn't recruit private citizens to assist in these searches. With the extreme dangerous terrain that we were experiencing in searches, we were able to monitor each group and movement in their location. That way we knew that everybody came back to the command post safely. After the initial searches, then we had to go back and obtain the landowner's permission to search again. We could not allow or even grant permission for private individuals on these people's property. And while I can promise you that we will continue to conduct target searches in the Beach Creek area as new information is developed, we'll also continue to follow up on any legitimate leads. And it's been the goal of this team since day one to find Summer. We've never stopped, we've never slowed down, we deal with it every day. And that's the whole purpose, is to let you all know, despite what you hear, what you see, we haven't stopped. The men and women of these agencies have worked tirelessly, hours and hours and hours. And I commend every one of them for the job they've done, and we're going to continue until we find something.
Now, as I mentioned, we can't speak to specifics, but we will take a few questions.
A few months ago, you guys said that the parents were not cooperating anymore. Has there been any changes in that, especially as Don Wells is incarcerated in this facility?
We're not going to characterize cooperation at this time. Honestly, doing so does nothing but create more speculation, and it doesn't benefit the investigation, but thank you for asking.
Is there still a reward being offered if any information over Summer is known?
Well, I can tell you that law enforcement did not coordinate that reward, so you would need to reach out to the Churchill Rescue Squad for information in that aspect.
Are the boys still in DC custody?
But that's not something we can speak to.
We do know that last year you guys pushed out some information about the red truck. I know that this is on here, but just we talk about with you guys. Is that still something you're looking for? Do you still have to go to submissions, or is that over and you're just not looking for the red truck?
I'm going to call on TBI Special Agent in charge, Derek Newport, just to talk about that.
I'll tell you yes, just to eliminate. We still don't have a good timeline of when that was observed. people at frequent areas on a regular basis get their days mixed up. We still want to figure out who, if possible, and if that's even a legitimate lead. So we.
Sorry about that. I wasn't expecting any commercials. Well, there's a little bit of information, not as much as I guess most of us wanted, but.
As you said earlier, we followed a lot of dead leads that didn't produce anything. So that obviously is still something we want to put to bed, but it's not, we still can't pinpoint a date and an exact location.
Anybody else? When this first came out, you guys said that Summer was last seen walking away from the home. That was one of the initial reports that night. But then things kind of changed the following days. There's any evidence that she walked away from the home, or any evidence leading to an abduction, or do you have any evidence of anything that night otherwise?
We don't have anything specific, and I think what's important to note there is that the sheriff mentioned how many hours we've put into this investigation and how much time has been spent exploring every possibility: walk off, abduction, other foul means. And I think that's the thing to keep in mind is it's still really wide open as to the what. We try to stay away from developing theories and just follow facts.
You mentioned that you're continuing to look at this case every day. Are there more searches planned as we're approaching the summer months?
No specific plan. However, if we get specific information about a specific location, building, what have you, we will coordinate with each other to go take a look at that location. What made it hard back in the summer is obviously the foliage. That's why you saw the two searches that were when the leaves were on the ground, so that we could use our assets and that you could actually see more of what's on the ground at the time. People say, well, leaves to cover things up. Well, moving things around enough, you'll find, you'll see what you're looking for.
In the past, you said that there's no evidence that there was an abduction. Does that still stand?
It still stands.
Do the facts point towards one theory more than another?
No, they do not. Not this point.
Thank you guys for being here. I just want to point out one more thing. This case is not cold. We get asked that a lot. It's not. We're talking to the sheriff constantly. We all work together as one team, and we're determined to find answers. Thank you for coming.
Well, that looks like the said information, you guys. Coming from the TBI, we will chop up all of this information after I play all of the said information from the past year. That's it. TBI. This information is uploaded to the YouTube Q. WBIR is my source of information for the TBI update. We're going to go back 1 year ago. How this case came to be, how it started. Hello, Pandora's Box, Kathy, everybody in the chat. Thank you. Thank you all for joining me. It's 1 year later and the child is still missing. No information, no new leads, searches here and there, a lot of rhetoric, rumors. Very sad how this case came to be into 1 year. No one ever thought it would be this long, I'm sure. As Ronnie Lawson has said in this commentary, he never thought 1 year later they would still be investigating this case. Numerous resources, use outside resources, and naturally, that's to be expected coming from a small town with a small police department, sheriff's office, and a child missing in an active Amber Alert. But we will discuss all of that in my commentary. This will probably be a winded live because there's so many things I want to play to go back a year ago to how we came to be where we are today. Okay, everybody. There was a prayer vigil this week for the child, and I'm going to play that said information. WJHL is the source.
Around 6:30 p.m., the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office first heard about the missing little girl. She was last seen at her home on Ben Hill Road, reported missing by her family in the Beech Creek community.
TBI had released an endangered child alert for her at midnight. That alert changed to an Amber Alert at 11 o'clock the next morning. That alert remains active today. TBI spoke on just how unusual this case is.
We've said from the beginning, this case is outside the norm. There are few clues as to what happened to Summer, despite investigators doing everything within their power to find answers. All possibilities are still being explored.
Just stunning news a year later. The TBI tells us over 100 different agents have worked this case, with over 3 large ground searches now already conducted. There have also been targeted searches of those following up on those potential leads.
There have also been several canine and dive teams called in. Still no sign of Summer. TBI also says there has been false information posted across social media, some even soliciting donations, something that has had a major negative impact on the investigation.
Well, even with little luck on finding her, the community made it very clear tonight they're not giving up hope.
Tonight, a candlelight vigil was held for Summer with prayers for her safe return.
Our John Jenko was at the vigil at Warriors Path State Park in Kingsport, and he has a look at those who came together to search for answers.
Josh, Sarah, dozens of people gathered here at the park just feet away from where Summer was swimming on the last day she was seen. These folks gathered in song and prayer starting at about 6 this evening, hoping to get some answers about Summer's disappearance soon.
There's so many people that are still praying and involved and just want to see Summer come home.
1 year since Summer Wells was last seen, a prayer vigil in her name, trinkets, toys, and tributes lying next to where she swam just hours before her disappearance was reported.
It's just one spot that she spent so much time, so we just thought we'd love to be in the area, the last place that she got to enjoy.
Joseph Broadwater helped organize the vigil with his church group Awaken. He says tonight is about positivity, maintaining the hope that Summer may someday come home.
I don't think the negativity is helping the Summer Wells case in any way, and there's so many false stories, accusations, people just running rampant with the whatever comes across their mind, so it's just really not helping the case come full circle.
The case has become such a hot button issue online that Broadwater brought in security to make sure the event went smoothly. No issues were reported at the vigil. Despite the positive message, folks left tonight with no answers as to Summer's whereabouts.
She's out here somewhere, and we're hoping that she's fine. I mean, that's all that I want, is she's out here somewhere and unharmed.
A night of prayer. We pray that the whole world is praying right now for Summer Wells. And a community of people from different places, all waiting for the day when some answers come from this case.
It doesn't feel like it's been a year, and it's still just as heartbreaking today, but the hope is still just as much alive today.
A year out from Summer's disappearance and still no leads, but these folks hope keeping her name out there will eventually lead to a breakthrough. In Kingsport, John Jenko, News Channel 11.
Organizers of the vigil said they do not plan on stopping the gatherings anytime soon.
All right, that's sad information. I want to speak on that briefly. This man who was speaking that the community hasn't been helpful. Well, you know what? What I find interesting about that, I wouldn't group everyone in the community in the same group of the people who have immersed themselves in the case and been meddlesome in the case, as far as asking for donations, spreading lies, rumors. You can't group everybody in the same category. As far as the community, I don't think a lot of people in the community were out vigilant, visible as I would have expected for a child missing from East Tennessee, because we've seen a lot of people go missing in America, whether they were children or adults. So I found it strange living here myself in this area 1 hour away, that there weren't more people in the general community of Rogersville, Greenville, Johnson City, Kingsport, Virginia, all those neighboring towns. I would have expected more people to be out, visibly talking about the child, passing out flyers. I didn't see that, and I thought that was strange. So when he wants to say the community weren't helpful, well, indeed, you're right. Some of you weren't helpful. And some could ask you the same thing. Well, where were you and what were you doing at the beginning of this case when the child first went missing? What was your part in trying to get the information out about Summer Wells? Because see, when you come in a day late, dollar short, it doesn't look good either. Now, I don't know this man, and I'm not trying to be critical, but I just call a spade a spade. If you live in the general area, one could ask you the same question. Well, where were you in the beginning when all this happened? Were you holding vigils? Were you out passing out flyers about the child? Were you visibly involved in getting information out about Summer Wells? If he is, and I can stand corrected, I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that. But I find it strange myself, since he wants to call the community out, that there weren't more people out in the neighboring towns besides Rogersville. Neighboring towns, and also Beach Creek, and also Rogersville. I just found it strange with a little child missing that there weren't more people visibly out talking about her, passing out flyers, posters, everything that was done like late in the game. Those are things that should have been done immediately. Posters, flyers, people ask for donations, so you can put up flyers, posters, billboards. So it just seems very strange. The community, I don't know if it's just a mentality of people didn't want to get involved. They didn't want to say anything because they didn't know anything, or they didn't want to speculate, or they just didn't want to get involved. And we know this from people in general, even when it's not anything about a missing child. A lot of people just don't like to get involved. They don't want to talk about anything. Oh, he's been at all the vigils. Okay. Well, that's fine. Thank you, sweetie. But the part about the community, well, you're talking about the same people that live around you I just find it strange nobody wanted to be involved, more involved as far as showing up everything. See, I don't watch all the vigils. I don't keep up with everybody to pinpoint whose face is this, this, and this. So that's why I wouldn't have known if he was visible. If he was visible, that's fine. But I'm just saying in general, there were a lot of people who were not out searching, passing out flyers, things like that. And I just thought that was strange due to the fact that the area is small. And in the end, you can't stop people from gossiping and speculating. That's just what humans do. And now that we have social media, you will have more people doing that, speculating. And I agree with the TBI. It has been horrible with the misinformation. And I'll chop more of that up when I do my commentary. Because as I said, this will probably be a winded live with all the information. We're going to go back in time pertaining to what happened on that day. I'm going to interject through each video because there's so much information for me to bring, and I want to try to get all of it out while it's on my head. What is still troublesome to me about this child's disappearance is that TBI, in its formal reading, is that the child was outside. Well, that's not the information that we got in the beginning per the dispatch's information when they were relaying what happened to Summer that night. Then you hear more information in the reporter talking to Ronnie Lawson about the truck. We know that's the only way an Amber Alert is issued is if there's identifying information. So that came in at 11 a.m. the next morning. So that means somebody had to have called in the truck in order for the Amber Alert to be issued. Because you have to have something identifying it in order for an Amber Alert to be released on a child. So that means somebody called in and said, hey, I saw a truck. Now you hear information that they're not really sure about the truck. They think perhaps the days have gotten mixed up. So, see, that's another issue. Is the truck relevant or not relevant? TBI says the child was outside. That's their formal statement. Now, before, the parents are saying she went missing from inside the basement. So we're going from the parents' initial statement of the basement to TBI's report outside. Well, which is it? Because it can't be both. Now you have some information mentioned in the Q&A with the TBI of the child wandering off. That is something that was allegedly repeated that night when she went missing. But when you go into formal articles, and I have never seen it, some people said they have seen this, but I haven't. that she wandered off. And I tell people I haven't read anything where it said she wandered off to my recollection, or that it's been validated. Let me say that it's been validated. She wandered off. So here comes the shuffle of parents say she was inside. TBI says she was outside. Now rumors, back then she wandered off. Somebody saw her wander off. That makes no sense, because if you're an adult, why wouldn't you go to the child and say, hey, where are you going? Hey, you shouldn't be out here. Hey, let me take you back to your house if indeed you knew the child and knew where she lived. Because there's no way in the world I'm going to sit here and watch your child wander off a road in the middle of nowhere and know of you, know of the child, know of the parents, and not pick up the child and take the child back to his or her residence. There's something strange with all of this. And you have to always ask yourself that as well. The people who live near Beech Creek, who gave information, weren't they giving information to be truthful? Or were they just throwing out anything? Because who's to say that these people who live near Beech Creek weren't giving out the wrong information? Because as you hear in this commentary with the TBI about the truck, basically they don't even know what day the person saw the truck. You know, it could be a 1, 2, 3 day interval where they got the days mixed up. The fact that TBI reports the child was outside, then that means somebody had to have told TBI the child was outside. So that means the parents have to have told she was outside. So why would you say she was in the basement and got kidnapped? And then TBI says, well, she was outside. So see, this is why you have to listen to everything that's being said. TBI got that information from Don or Candace. Hello? They didn't make that up. They have no reason to make up your child was outside unless that's what you told them. Now, reporter is saying, oh, we heard that night she wandered off. Somebody said she wandered off. Well, which is it? Playing outside, kidnapped from the basement, or she wandered off? So she was abducted from where? Outside? Inside? Or she wandered off? See, this is where you have the problem. Because you have to remember that most of the information that you're hearing initially would have to come from the parents. And then the outsiders come in to say, I saw a truck, I saw her walking here. And as I said, if you're a responsible adult, you're not going to watch a child wander off. That's the start of my commentary. Let's go back to what the parents have said about their child missing. Before that, we're going to talk about the boys briefly. There's commentary by WJHL. Siblings in trauma like Summer Wells' brothers can be forgotten grievers. Exactly. We must remember the boy children because they are also an extension of Summer Wells. Those are her brothers. Whether she is alive or deceased, these are still living creatures who have been gravely affected by this case because they are now in state's custody. And I think it's sad that no one in the family has custody of the children. And we can also dissect that as well. Why not? Why are the children in state's custody? Somebody should have stepped up to get the children. You mean to tell me there was no viable adult that could have stepped up and said, I would like to have custody of the children. I'm a cousin, I'm a sister, I'm a brother, I'm an aunt, I am this. You can do, a background check, whatever. I've got a decent home here for the boys. We would like to keep the children together until the parents can get themselves together to get their kids back or not, whichsoever. You have to ask yourself that. And with all the things that have come out about the allegations of the essay, this and that, I'm going to say that, those said people, why don't you have the children? With all this jumping on channels to talk, cooking network, I'm going to say that, I'm being a little facetious. Why don't any of you all who have decided to bring us information about who Don Wells was, whichsoever, why don't any of you have those boys? Because when you look at the greater picture, it is sickening to know the children aren't with somebody close in the family. But then that goes back to the obvious. Perhaps there isn't anyone close to the Wells. that could have taken the children in. The Wells didn't have a good rapport with their family members, so there wouldn't be anybody that could step up to take the children. And that's what we don't want children just going off with somebody just because they're related to the bio donors. We want the children in a safe environment. But you all do need to think about that. Why are there no viable relatives on either side of Candace's family, Don's family, to take in the boys? And if somebody applied for custodial rights, who were they and why were they denied the rights to the children? This is information pertaining to the siblings' trauma. Thank you for joining me.
Grievers, children like Summer Wells' 3 older brothers impacted by family trauma. For the brothers ranging in age from 7 to 13, a double trauma. First, Summer's highly publicized disappearance, and then just weeks later, their removal from their home and placement in state custody, where those brothers of Summer Wells have now spent nearly a year themselves. We talked about this with local therapist Julie Burks. She said intensive counseling in these cases like this is a must.
I can tell you, if my heart's broken, I'm feeling sad or I'm really ticked off because, I'm missing this person or whatever. Whereas a child doesn't always have the tools yet or experience of life to understand and how to cope with that in a healthy way.
Burke says children who get enough therapy and complete it can become very resilient and move forward and have a great life. Again, Summer Wells still missing tonight. If you have credible tips, call 1-800-TBI-FIDE.
All right, everybody, that's WJHL. We will chop up the reasoning, the speculations of why the children haven't been, no one has come, why the state hasn't placed the children with relatives or anybody close to the family. Because, they did go to church. Hello, Reese. They did have a church that they attended. I find it strange that nobody asked for the children, but naturally we're not going to know that because they're not going to tell us who asked for the children. So I'll just say, who asked for the children to stay with them? Let's just go there. Family members, people in the community, church members. Did any of those said people ask for custody of the boys? And if so, why did the state deny any of those said people to take in the children? And as I said, naturally, we're not going to know the answer, but it's just a question. Okay. Next information. And how about why are the children not returned to Candace Bly? Since she's the lone ranger. Her husband is currently incarcerated. Why haven't the children been returned to Candace? I think we obviously know why. Because of all the buffoonery and mockery that played out on social media from the beginning with she and her husband. Then once he became arrested, she took over where he left off by being on social media. And naturally, that did not weigh well with the state. And possibly, it was probably already decided before he even went to jail this year. These people don't want these children back. And you also have to ask yourself that. Why didn't you all do what you needed to do in the beginning? Let's go there. To keep your children safe from harm. Because in the end, Candace Bly and Donald Wells were culpable for whatever happened to their children before the child went missing and after when the children got placed in the state's custody. And had these people been appropriate adults, not wayward in their thinking and their vices, the children would still be with them. So they are responsible no matter what happened to Summer Wells. Whether this was planned to get rid of her, accident, discardment of a child after the fact, animal attack the child, abduction, whatever you want to believe, you still were not decent human beings when we found out how you acted and behaved thereafter. So you have to acknowledge that when we saw how the parents were living and acting on social media, this is what the children were subjected to, and it was not a good environment, period. The layout of the land, the way they kept the property inside, the vices of drinking, drugs, the company they kept, hygiene of the parents and the children, the upkeep of the parents and the children showed us, the public, that the parents never cared for themselves. So therefore, you couldn't possibly care for your children. Former investigator weighs in on Summer Wells' case. WJHL is the source. Thank you for joining me. This was 11 months ago.
Its first update in a week in the search for 5-year-old Summer Wells.
That's right. The TBI said they have now about 870 tips received, and today they confirmed the investigation is still active and ongoing. They're looking, we believe, for the driver of a red or maroon Toyota Tacoma pickup truck that was seen in the area of Ben Hill Road the afternoon Summer went missing. TBI said that person's a potential witness as they continue their investigation.
Amy Cockrum has been following the latest on Summer's disappearance and talked with a former investigator about Summer's case.
Josh and Sarah, earlier today I sat down with Deb Richmond. She is a former investigator for the Bristol, Tennessee Police Department. She's dealt with child abuse and sexual abuse cases in her time as an investigator. She says that in a missing child case like this one, odds of finding Summer safe shift as time passes.
As each day passes, it is more alarming that she may not come home safely, but there have been children found.
After almost 30 years as an investigator, Deb Richmond now works for the Branch House, a resource for victims of abuse crimes. Even though she's not an investigator anymore, Richmond has been following the Summer Wells case closely.
If they're not letting information out to the public, it may be, and I'm just saying this from experience, it may be because they have some good leads that they can't afford to for the public to be involved in.
Richmond says she's investigated many abduction cases where children were taken by family members, but she says stranger abductions are rare.
The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children is a great help.
Amber Alert is one tool, as I mentioned, in those very critical cases. It's used, alerts are issued about 200 times a year, but as I said, the National Center sees reporting of children up to 30,000 cases a year.
There's no doubt in my mind that they are working night and day and thinking of all kinds of different ways to get this solved and to bring her home safely.
Richmond tells me from her experience, she knows that the investigators on Summer's case right now are experiencing many sleepless nights as they work tirelessly to bring her home. Sarah?
Amy, thanks. TBI says the smallest detail could prove to be beneficial to this investigation. If you have any credible information that could lead to locating Summer Wells, call TBI at 1-800-TBI-FIND or email tipstotbi@tn.gov.
All right, everybody, that's content uploaded almost a year ago, and it's still relevant today because the child is still missing. WJHL is the source. This woman is speaking from experience, not saying she knows what happened to Summer Wells, but she's speaking from working with abused children who have been abducted, and 9 times out of 10, it was family members that took the child. That abductions are rare in the disappearance of children. 30,000 plus children going missing a year. So you have to ask yourselves, what happened to Summer Wells? Was she abducted by a stranger, which is rare? Was it a family member that took her? We don't know of any close family members in the area living with them except for the grandmother or anybody ever mentioned as a potential abductor that was related to the family. So you can scratch that off the list. Somebody they knew took the child, some type of personal vendetta, accident, cover up, child wandered off. Which is it? You know, the sick part of the story will be that the child is no longer alive and that she was deliberately killed by her parents. And what's interesting is It's 1 year in, not one arrest, not nothing. And even with this TBI update, they really didn't want to answer anything in this update that was given to the other day. Nothing. Because they realized that what little information they had given has been spun and twisted, and it hasn't been beneficial. So they're not telling you anything about the boys, which naturally they can't talk about the children. I'm talking about anything except for the searches. And they'll let you know when they decide to search. But I do find it interesting that you're only searching near the house. And why not anywhere else? That's why I tell you all to always listen to what has been given to you. Because in the information that has been given to you, they're spinning the story without having to tell you what they have. The fact that the children, boy children, don't live with anybody else but strangers picked out from the state. The fact that the children have not been returned to their bio donors is telling you the story. The fact that they're still searching for Summer Wells in the Beach Creek community. The fact that the red truck, it's not a yay situation, because now it's a conflict of the dates and the time and the location of the truck. So that means they're not sure about the information given to them by whomever saw the truck. And yes, the fact that they're not releasing anything pertinent as because of all the lies and rumors spread pertaining to the disappearance of Summer Wells on social media, the people calling in tips from watching videos and content, which is absurd to me. As I said, you're entitled to weigh a story how you see fit. But when you don't have any ironclad information about a case, you have no right to immerse yourself in the case. You have no right calling law enforcement on gossip. And what you heard on Pookie's channel, and Ray Ray's channel, and what you saw on a Facebook post, that's not information. You don't know the child, you don't know the parents. So you have no business calling law enforcement to say anything unless you're directly affected by the parents and the children to where you saw something that you thought would be viable information to the disappearance of the child. And it's no different if it was adult. Whomever, you just don't call the law and say, well, I think this happened to him or her. Just think about how that sounds. Because I think some of you need a 101 lesson in etiquette. When was it ever appropriate to call the law, TBI, FBI, to say, I think such and such got kidnapped by Pookie across the street or Bubba across the street? Why would you do that when you don't even know the people? I just want you to think about that for a minute. You don't know the child. You don't know the parents. You don't know the people involved in the story, whether they're a child or an adult. And you're just going to randomly call a police station, sheriff's department to say what you think happened to the child, the adult. But you don't know the people. You've never met them, and you couldn't point them out if you passed them on the street. How do you think that's appropriate behavior? And some of you actually condone this behavior, which is baffling to me. Which this is why I know the world is backwards. And there's something wrong with a lot of you out there that you condone this meddling. You condone this meddling, and it's disrespectful because we're talking about a child. And even if she was an adult, it's disrespectful because the person is missing. And there is somebody out there wanting the person to be found. Now, perhaps these parents don't really want her found because of their behavior, but nonetheless, the person is still a human being and deserves justice. So when you meddle and you make false allegations, lies, rumors, and you spread that stuff around and you're calling the police department, sheriff, moaning and crying and talking about this and that when you don't know what you're talking about, it's disruptive and it's disrespectful because this is serious business. This is a child who could not take care of herself out here on her own in the elements. So you calling and meddling and making up stuff, how is that helping her? It's not. Because law enforcement needs viable information that would be useful in trying to find the child. Not what you think happened, not what you assumed happened, not what you heard through the grapevine, but what you know. Thank you for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. If you'd like to donate to the channel, $ Big Angie 129 Cash App. All super chats and stickers are welcome during the live. Thank you all so much for joining me. That was commentary from a year ago. Investigator giving her opinion pertaining to what happened. I've given you information pertaining to the siblings involved in this crisis, how they have been affected, what they're going through. How do the children feel about being placed with somebody else, not seeing their parents? Naturally, we don't have to like the parents, but those are still their parents. And that's the thing you have to remember about being a child. Children will still care for their parents despite how wayward their parents are. See, every child is different. One child may not like their parent, but another child may, even though they know their parents aren't conducive into raising them properly, treating them with respect, but the child may still care for their parents, love their parents. So what are the children feeling right now? I'm sure they've heard a lot of rhetoric about their parents. How does that make them feel? I'm sure it does not make them feel good. Do they want to be back with their parents? What is the status of the children going back to Dawn and Candace? Are they able to regain custody or have their rights been severed by the state of Tennessee? And will the boys remain together up until grown age? So you have to also remember that. A lot of placements are temporary, especially with children who are school age. There's no guarantee that the boys will stay together. And that can also cause friction between the children and their disposition once separated from their other brothers and sisters. Is Candace in a state to get her children back? Do she want her children back? Hell, where is Candace? I have not kept up with any rhetoric pertaining to she or Dawn or her family because I'm not getting into all of that. So it's a waste of my time. But where is she? And what has she done to regain custody of her children? You see, you have to want your children in order to attain them. And you have to comply with whatever the state has asked of you to do to get your children back. So that will lead us to believe she has done nothing, she and her husband. So all the months of complaining about social media, YouTubers, this, that, and the other, always remember these two aided the foolishness. Because it doesn't really matter what I think of what happened or of them. You gave me ammunition. You gave strangers ammunition to judge you and talk about you by your behavior. Had you laid in the cut and been still and let the law investigate this case, there would have been nothing to talk about. But because your friends came out talking about you, which was the start of the gossip, that got the ball rolling. And then here comes people seeking them out, them jumping on their networks to speak. So that was the start of the gossip. Then you followed in behind them, pushing out rhetoric, stories, bad language, bad behavior, and that got everybody talking. So you can't blame social media when you are a willing participant. It doesn't work that way because you can't stop people from talking. People will lie, cheat, steal, manipulate. Nowhere in there did it say, hey, join them. That was a choice. You and your wife joined them. And then other people followed suit that knew Dawn and Candace. So you can see they have not made great friends. Let's go back 11 months ago. TBI says the case is outside of the norm. Why is that? Was this a deliberated orchestration to get rid of a child? Welcome to Everyday Shenanigans. Thank you for joining me.
Sarah and Joshua, search teams and investigators are physically and mentally exhausted. I can tell you that they all remain hopeful. Leslie, at this point in the search and investigation.
Oops. 1 second, you guys. Sorry about that. Brief interruption. Okay, where were we? This is from a year ago. This information that this case is out of the norm. This is per TBI. Thank you all.
Joining us at 6, I'm Sarah Diamond.
I'm Josh Smith. Take a look at some new photos of Summer Wells that we obtained today. Summer's mother shared these with us. In a news briefing late this afternoon, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation said the search for Summer is, quote, definitely outside the norm when it comes to the standard amount of time for a missing persons case like this.
Typically, in an investigation like this one, we have some idea of where the case is headed and what might have happened within a few days. In this situation, despite doing everything within our power and exploring all avenues, the circumstances leading to Summer's disappearance remain unclear.
News Channel 11's John Janko was at today's news briefing. John, are investigators hopeful at this point that they will find Summer?
Sarah and Josh, while search teams and investigators are physically and mentally exhausted, I can tell you that they all remain hopeful.
Leslie, at this point in the search and investigation, do you believe Summer Wells is still alive?
We hope so, but honestly, we just don't know. I mean, we're holding out hope, doing everything we can. Obviously, we typically would have found a child at this stage in the investigation, so honestly, we just don't know.
Hawkins County Sheriff Ronnie Lawson again made a plea to those who live in Beech Creek, Sullivan, and Hawkins counties to check and recheck their security or trail cam footage. In the desperate search for Summer Wells, he also had another request.
So if the general public that lives in this area will go back and search their outbuildings, their barns, their hay fields. Now it's mowing season, so when they mow, they need to pay attention. And if you have a resident that cannot search their property themselves, if they'll call my office at 423-272-4848, I will send an officer to your residence to search your property for you.
106 agencies are participating in the search for Summer Wells. You're looking at new video the TBI released this afternoon of crews conducting line searches in the Beech Creek area near where Summer was last seen. The TBI says the purpose of these searches is to ensure every inch of ground has been covered. They've covered about 4.6 square miles of terrain so far. That's about 3,000 acres. Captain Tim Coop of the Churchill Wet Rescue Squad says they've covered multiple ground multiple times. He said different eyes and different search teams may discover something someone else didn't notice. Live in the Beech Creek community, John Janko, News Channel 11.
John, thank you very much.
WJHL is the source of this information. We're backtracking 1 year if you're curious to what I'm currently playing. This content was uploaded 11 months ago. 92,000 views, WJHL. Could it be that you don't have any information to tell us, TBI? It's because it was orchestrated. You see, you have to remember, when something is well planned out, allegedly, you may not have any information in the beginning. Because I got her gone. That's why you can't find her. That's why you don't have anybody to tell you anything. You don't got Bubba and nobody to tell you where I was, what I was doing. You don't have surveillance because I made sure that you would not. Whether it was deliberate, accidental, cover up after an accident. And when you look at the fact that they are living in the middle of nowhere, would be very easy to get something gone, jumped off, because you don't have anybody around. This is not like living in a neighborhood where we have people looking out windows, sitting on front porches, walking down the street, doorbell cameras. You're in the middle of nowhere. Actually, this is the perfect place for a crime of any sort. There's nobody around to see or hear anything. You could be drug trafficking, cooking meth on the stove while watching Days of Our Lives. Stay woke. Nobody knows what you're doing up in there. Can't see anything, can't hear anything. You be doing all types of things back up in there. And those type of people stay to themselves, mind their business. That's why they're back up in there. Stay woke. The houses are far apart. It's nothing to see. Summertime. The trees are full bloom. The grass is high. Private property. They don't have to cut the grass because it's barren land. Whether the state owns it or the city owns it. County, whichever. So the grass is going to be high. See, you're not in the city limits. The child could be lying out there right in front of you. You wouldn't know it because you can't see any damn thing. And what you have to ask yourselves is the ultimate question. Why are they still searching the Beach Creek community? They told you to only give viable information. And then they will then go back out and search. But what you have to ask yourselves is question number one. Why are you still searching Beach Creek? Do you know that Summer Wells is discarded out there? That is why you keep searching out there. Because you have to think logically. 1 year in and you're searching, common sense would tell you she's not alive. Stay woke. You're not searching for a live person 1 year later in the same area. Why are you not searching somewhere else? Why has there never been verification of an outside location in Rogersville, Kingsport, Greenville, Johnson City, Bristol, Virginia, Bristol, Tennessee, all the neighboring counties up through there? You have never heard of a search anywhere else. Why not? Because you know of something. Either the digital evidence has told you that possibly she's back there discarded. Something has led you to stay back there. Something has led you to continuously search Beach Creek. That's all I'm saying. Thank you for joining me. We're going back a year ago to replay and recap the disappearance of Summer Wells. Thank you for joining me. 11 months ago, we get information pertaining to Rose Bly. What is the relations between Rose's disappearance and Summer Wells? Are the cases connected? If you're to believe that the parents did something to Summer, did they do something to Rose? Some of you have speculated yes or no. I don't think so because you don't have verification that either parent was living in Wisconsin at the time of Rose's disappearance. Her husband is the last one to allegedly have seen her, and I'm going to bet my coins that the husband is the one who has knowledge of Rose's disappearance. But as I had talked to someone affiliated with the case last year, and they had information that Rose is alive. Now, is that true? I don't know. But they found something, was not revealed to me what it was, is that she is alive. Cannot tell you what it is as to protect the victim if indeed the information is true. But you're entitled to think what you want pertaining to the disappearance of Rose Bly. WJHL is the source. This is content uploaded 11 months ago. Thank you for joining me.
Amber alert for missing 5-year-old Summer Wells. Authorities say the little girl, whose picture so many of us now have seen for several days, has still not been found. But Summer's not the only missing person in her family. You may have heard by now that Summer's aunt, Rose Bly, is missing and has been missing since 2009 in the state of Wisconsin, where investigators say they are still looking for her. We heard from Summer's parents earlier this week about how Rose Bly's disappearance makes Summer's case that much more difficult. Very important to note here that TBI has said that they are aware of the Rose Bly missing persons case, but they have no evidence that links the two cases together. News Channel 11's Bianca Murray spoke with Wisconsin investigators about their efforts to find Summer's aunt. Bianca, they're sharing a message with local law enforcement, the community, and also the Wells family, right?
That's exactly right, Josh. Now, Rose Bly disappeared without a trace in 2009, and in 2019, the Polk County, Wisconsin Sheriff's Office tried to draw attention to her case by doing a really big media push. Now, the sheriff tells me he hasn't given up hope, and he says that he's hopeful that Summer is found as well.
There is a lot of interest in it, and certainly we will help any way we can to work towards closure for both cases. If there's anything we can do to help, we're certainly willing to do that.
The Polk County, Wisconsin Sheriff's Office sharing this footage with us that they produced in 2019 on the 10-year anniversary of Rose Bly's disappearance.
And it's horrible. It's hard to deal with. Very hard to deal with. And my life will never be normal without knowing where my daughter is.
When 5-year-old Summer Wells disappeared, her family told me nobody can understand the pain of not knowing where 2 family members are.
I don't know all of what happened or what did happen, but I hope that they find her too.
And she disappeared without a trace. They haven't found anything, haven't found a body, nothing. And when you see cases like that, that's why I lose hope on Summer. I want to keep hope, but sometimes I just lose hope. And I think, maybe we won't never see her again.
Wisconsin law enforcement sharing a message of encouragement to local law enforcement looking for Summer Wells and to the Wells family.
Anytime you have a missing person, there's an impact, but when it's a child, it's even a bigger impact. I sympathize with them. I know the tremendous amount of work and effort that goes into this, and it isn't all hands on deck. So I sympathize with the work they're doing. I don't ever give up hope.
The Polk County Sheriff tells me that they have received phone calls when people look up the Summer Wells case and find information about the Rose Bly case. He says he hopes that generating a message will help get the word out and help bring them both home safely. Reporting live in the Beech Creek community, Bianca Murray, News Channel 11.
Here's another look at 5-year-old Summer Wells. Investigators continue to hold out hope that somebody knows something that will help them find her. Tips can be phoned in 1-800-TBI-FIND. There is an email, tips to TBI@tn.gov. Today, they're asking for credible, first-hand information.
Currently, an active investigation. Amber Alert still in effect for the disappearance of Summer Wells 1 year later. The content I'm playing is 1 year ago. This content was pertaining to Rose, the aunt of Summer Wells, who went missing in Wisconsin many years ago. To this day, she has not been located, alive or deceased. What happened to Rose Bly? Who knows where she can be located? Who's involved in the disappearance of Rose? Is she alive? Is she deceased? What does the elder Candace know, Miss Hara, about her child? What happened to her? Are the 2 cases related? Officials here in this great state of Tennessee say no, as you heard from Ronnie Lawson. They do not believe that the cases are related. 2 separate cases. Could this just be a copycat? Yeah, she got gone. Let's get this one gone. Make people think there's some ghost phantom lurking around, knocking off our family members. Who's to say? I don't know. Just a thought. Thank you for joining me. Recapping the disappearance of Summer Wells. All content is a source brought with the said information. Donald Wells, 11 months ago, describes the disappearance of his said child. Here in this video is where he's clutching on to his boy child that many of you have judged this commentary as very odd and suspicious. The child is looking down. Naturally, he would. He's a boy. He doesn't know anything about what's going on here with the cameras and cameras being in his face. He was uncomfortable during this interview, but it's a very weird setup of Donald Wells and the older child. Why did he have the boy child there? Was he using him as a prop? Was he telling the truth during this interview? Is he involved in the disappearance of his child? Does he have knowledge of where the child can be found? Does he know what happened to the child and he has been lying? Is he a culprit alongside the wife and also the grandmother? Are all three guilty of knowledge and or participating in the disappearance and discarment of Summer Wells? WJ Jealous Source. This is 11 months ago. Thank you for joining me.
She went down in the basement. She didn't answer, so she went down there and she was gone. So she went out the basement door, which was unlocked, and we never seen her since.
This morning, Donald Wells spoke on camera for the first time since his daughter disappeared.
Please, that Summer be okay. And please come home.
He says it's unlikely Summer would leave the house on her own. Wells says the last time anyone in the family saw Summer was when she entered the house to play in the basement after gardening with her mother and grandmother. Wells also spoke about his gut feeling about Summer's whereabouts.
Some bad person around here, but we have no idea.
Wells says law enforcement have covered leads on areas sex offenders and drug addicts.
We're trying to think, beat our brains out. We've covered everything that we can think of already.
Investigators say they have followed up on 85 tips so far. Wells says he is overwhelmed by the massive numbers of personnel on site.
We just really appreciate everybody trying to help keep that down, law enforcement and all these volunteers that are here. Never seen anything like this in my entire life.
It was John Janko reporting those sentiments shared by Hawkins County Sheriff Ronnie Lawson, who said he has never seen a show of public support like this in his 4 decades of law enforcement.
Yeah, today the TBI and Sheriff Lawson said Summer's family does continue to cooperate in this ongoing search for the little girl. They say that at all points the family has continued to be assisting in this process.
WJ Jealous Source. This is 11 months ago. At the time of this publication, the parents were cooperating. Now, we got wind months ago that they were not. The elder Hara disputed that, did not know why Sheriff Lawson would issue that statement. Who's telling the truth? Is this a Game of Thrones? I'm going to put this information out there. It's not true, but I'm going to see what happens if I tell the public they're not cooperating. So who's telling the truth? Did Candace and Donald Wells stop complying with law enforcement? Did they retain a lawyer, family lawyer, court lawyer? What? Did someone tell them to stop talking? Did they decide to stop talking on their own? Did Sheriff Lawson tell the truth? When you watch this interview this week with TBI, they will not give you an answer if the parents are cooperating, a reporter asked. She felt like it was not beneficial to tell you if they were or not. So that means they don't want to tell you anything because they feel like you all meddle too much. It's called a spade a spade. We're not going to tell you anything because you all make up stuff. You lie. You're lying on a little kid. You're lying on this and that. Hell no, we're not going to tell you anything. Because as soon as we tell you they're not cooperating, you just keep spinning and spinning and spinning. So we're not going to tell you nothing. Do they know more than what they have revealed to the public since last year and this week? Do they have leads to the disappearance of Summer Wells? Do they have a suspect? Do they know that the child has been discarded in the Beach Creek community? And this is why they continue to search that area and not Jonesboro, Rogersville, Kingsport, Greenville, Johnson City, no other jurisdiction but Beach Creek community. Always remember there's a reason for the season. That if I tell you something, believe me. I'm out there for a reason. Stay woke. Let's chop up what Donald Wells has said in his commentary. Per TBI, the child went missing from outside, but as you heard here, day one, the child allegedly went into the house and went into the basement. The mother told the children to watch her, which we know the children do not have eyes in the back of their head, so they can't see downstairs. So what happened? Why is TBI saying the child went missing from outside? when the original story, as you heard here from Donna Wells' own mouth, child went inside, went in the basement. The mother called for her. She didn't answer, went downstairs to look for the child. The child was gone. So why is TBI still a year later saying the child went missing from outside? And as I told you, TBI is only saying that because somebody told them that. That leads me to believe Candace had changed her version. How many versions has she told TBI pertaining to the disappearance of her child? Because that means you had to have told different versions. Stay woke. You had to have had different versions. Because when we go back to hearing the dispatch call, that was a different version as well. Thank you for joining me, everybody. You took a walk, a run, which we know that a walk, run. Let's say you said I took a run. A run doesn't mean you actually ran anywhere. It means you possibly got in your car and went somewhere. And that's usually what that means when we say I took a run. I took a quick run. So where did you go, Candace Bly, on that fateful evening, allegedly? Did you leave the property by foot or by car? Did you leave the property with one of your children or by yourself? If you went by yourself, where did you go and what was the reasoning for leaving? You've left your children unattended all damn day, as we have assumed the boys were alone, and you took baby girl out on an outing with another boy child and to pick up your mother for medical reasons. So one, you did leave your children alone too many hours. You come back and out of the blue, the child that you had all damn day goes missing. What are the odds? Stay woke. And we have different versions of what happened. June 15th, 2021. Version number one, she took a run, took a walk. Then she disputes that in the live interview that I'm going to play here shortly. Number two, TBI says the child went missing from outside. But yet in this interview, Donna Wells says the mother went inside the house, called for her child, went downstairs, child was missing. So I'm going to ask you, Candace Bly, where did you go when you returned home with the child and your mother? Did you return home with your child? Did you return home with just your mother? Did you dump your baby out there in Beach Creek with your mother in the car? Stay woke. Or did you already know that your child was deceased in the car and you dumped your mother off and then went out and dumped your baby, then came back, laid around the house, inebriated, till you decided to make a fateful call at 6:27, whatever time, before 6:30 p.m. to say your child was missing? How did it go? Did Summer Wells return to that house after the runaround in Kingsport? Grocery store, tobacco store, smoke shop, whatever you want to call it. Did the child ever make it back to the house with she and her grandmother, the mother and the grandmother? Was the child alive or deceased in the backseat of the car once making it to Rogersville? Did the mother have knowledge that her child was not alive in the backseat of that car? Was the mother and the grandmother driving a dead baby around in the car? Or was she alive, made it back home, planted flowers, went in her home, and an abductor walked into a basement on a property full of dogs and participants and kidnapped a child from outside or inside of the basement? You be the judge. Thank you for joining me. A lot of stories. Recapping 1 year of the disappearance of Summer Wells. 10 months ago, the parents of Summer. Hold on. I got to go back. It's got so much to give. Hold on 1 second. I'm trying to find their interview. Lord, I got so many things to play. Full interview of the disappearance of Summer Wells per Candace Bly. WJHL is the source. Thank you for joining me. Trying to get all of it on here because there's so much. Hold on, guys.
And we went in after we got done washing our hands, and she got a piece of candy from Grandma, and she wanted to go back over and see her brothers. And I said, okay, and I walked her all the way over to the porch, and I watched her walk into the kitchen where the boys were watching TV. And I told the boys, I said, watch Summer, I'll be back. And within 2 minutes I came back, and I asked the boys where their sister was, and they said, she went downstairs, Mom, to play with her toys in the playroom. I said, okay. And I yelled downstairs for her a couple times, and I didn't get no answer, which was unusual because usually she always answers me. And so I went down there to check, and she was nowhere in sight. She was just gone. I don't go on walks around here or runs because I'm scared of the bears and snakes and even the coyotes that are around here. Well, whoever has my daughter, I pray and hope that they have not harmed her and they bring her back to us safe and sound.
Just go to the FBI, the police, and clear it up. I mean, I don't know, it seems kind of elusive.
It's really strange that I've never seen this truck, and I've never heard of it until just recently. But I wish they would come forward and explain themselves. And if you're not a suspect, at least come forward and say what you've seen. She was a tomboy. I shaved my head. She wanted to have her head shaved like me and the boys did.
She tried to shave her head
She tried
in
to
the
shave her
back
head
and
herself.
make it, I think you can see it in some of the pictures, and it was getting out of control, so we decided to shave her head off and let it grow back long, and she shaved her head so she wouldn't feel bad, and but it didn't bother her at this point. Well, I knew right away that she was abducted. You know, I knew that right away, and that's what I told them from the beginning. But they have to go through their, I forget the word.
Investigation.
They have to do one step at a time, I guess. But I'm sorry that they had to spend so many man hours in these woods and everything. I've seen them limping and everything else, and I feel for them. But I just wish there was a way that neighbors could search neighbors' houses, and then if they're not willing, get a search warrant or something. But there's just no way you can search every single house, in the eastern United States or whatever. But I wish there was a way.
What if you worry? He feels sorry for the searchers. That's their job. They're there to help you find your child. Very odd statement from a parent. Stay woke.
Just thankful for the person or persons that's doing that, out of love, trying to get information and trying to get her found. We thank them from the bottom of our hearts.
It means a lot.
And we thank everybody who's trying so hard and praying so hard. And she's an awesome young lady, and we just want her back. There's always going to be haters, and it's always going to be that way in this world. And we just want to focus on the good friends and Christian people that are trying to help us and praying for us and praying for Summer. And we thank them from the bottom of our hearts. And that's the kind of people we try to relate with and socialize with. So we don't know anything about, no red truck, or we hardly know many of our neighbors. Because we just try to be around good people. And we do have good people in this area. We found out since this has all happened. We got some real good neighbors and good folks everywhere. But
the most important thing is to bring Summer home safe. I'm sorry that you feel this way about us, but we love our children with everything we have. We've never went without, thanks to Summer's daddy and my husband. He's always provided for us and has worked as much as he could and can, and still is. And I'm sorry that you guys feel that way, but that's my baby, and nobody would ever treat her like that as long as I was around, ever.
She loves to dance. She would always want me. She says, "Daddy, hold my hand so I can twirl," and she would just like to twirl and twirl and twirl until my arm got tired, you know. But and you know, I put out there that one of Summer's favorite songs was Godzilla, and they say, you know, and they're jumping all over me about what past tense was, you know. Well, I'm sorry about that. It's just.
She also liked the song by New Breed. It was called House, My House. She sung that a lot of times when I played it on the TV. She loved to dance.
She liked to think of herself as a princess, and you know, and all that, like all young girls do. And,
she loved Frozen. She loved to be that Elsa,
and I think she really loved to be in church because she felt a lot of love there. And I think you can't explain what that love is, but you feel it and you know it, you know, when you're young. And she felt that there, and she loved everybody in that church. Or she loves everybody in that church. I should rephrase that because they'll tear that apart as past tense, and I apologize again for that. I hope she gets to come home, you know, and I hope she gets to be with our church family again.
Our best friend in that church was Robin. She loved her to death.
Yeah, she looked up to women that were.
She'd come to that church, she went looking for Robin. That was her favorite person.
Any woman that was professional, that
was pretty.
Yeah,
beautiful.
She looked up to those kind of women. She, you know, they were the word I'm looking for. I can't think of it, but she looked up to them.
Let's stop here before I forget what I'm going to say. Yes, a lot of red flags in this interview. There have been people who have used past tense in commentary, because I went to a vigil last year where a young lady who was friends with Sheena Kyle had used past tense. She didn't mean to at that time, you know, nice girl. And they corrected her during that vigil. Don't use past tense. We don't know anything yet. So maybe it was just, you know, just happenstance. But besides the past tense, there are many red flags. She also uses past tense. So now you have two people using past tense. Why? The child looked up to professional women, pretty women. Candace interjects, pretty women. Well, are you not a pretty woman, Candace Blythe? Because that seems like a strange comment to come from a woman. My child looked up to pretty women. So people are going to look at you when you make that comment. So let's just say you were this gorgeous lady. Remember, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But you do look masculine. You do appear to be doped up during this interview. So a stranger would look at this commentary and say to themselves, well, not to be mean, but the woman here looks like a man, looks like she's inebriated, and she's saying that her daughter looks up to pretty women. So basically you're saying you're not pretty. Is that what you're saying? I'm going to ask her. I'm not going to say it. I'm going to just ask. Were you saying in this commentary that you're not a pretty woman? Was your husband also saying that you're not professional? Because he also starts it off. She likes professional women. She looks up to professional women. The wife jumps in and says, yeah, she likes pretty women. Very strange commentary from two adults talking about their child. Also using past tense. The fact that Candace starts off with, I don't walk or run anywhere. Bingo card. You told on yourself. You're answering gossip and rumors from the dispatch call. Because nowhere in this commentary did she ask you that. If she did, it was cut out of this interview. And you can see where they stitched this interview together. There were other things in the interview that obviously didn't make it in, but nonetheless, if they felt like it was pertinent information, they should have put it in there. But maybe they didn't want the interview to appear accusatory, so perhaps it was cut out of the interview. But Candace makes sure to say that in the beginning. I don't walk or run anywhere because of the Bears, Coyotes. Well, we didn't hear her ask you, did you take a run or walk? And we didn't hear her ask, we didn't hear her say you ran or walked anywhere. So I wonder why they mentioned it and why did they play it in this commentary? This is why I tell you have to pay attention to the details. Because Candace had been watching social media. That's why she mentions that during this interview. Sorry you all don't like us, this, that, and the other. What does it have to do with the disappearance of your child? The fact that you mentioned nobody would ever hurt her. Well, nobody said she was hurt. The reporter didn't say she was hurt. Because you're going off the rumors and rhetoric you heard on social media. And that should not have been your focus. Your focus should have been talking about what happened that night, that day, what happened with your child. The shaved head, another bingo card. First, you all say, Candace says you shaved your head. You mentioned something about being a tomboy. But then Dawn interjects to say, well, it had got out of hand where she had been messing with the clippers herself. So we had to finish it off, shave it all off so it could grow back long. First of all, why would your child have access to clippers? And you contradicted Candace in this portion of the interview. Because basically Candace is saying, I shaved my head because this is what I wanted to do. You don't hear anything about cooties, lice, or anything to that nature. That was rumor rhetoric on social media. And then Don jumps in to try to sweep it up, but he messed it up. Well, yeah, she got a hold of the clippers, da-da-da-da-da. She was messing with her hair. She messed it up. So we shaved it all the way off. So you're saying what? The little girl was mimicking her mother with a shaved head. And then you saw how out of control it got. So you all finished it all the way off. But when you first see the pictures of Summer with the shaved head and some hair in the front, you want me to believe that Summer did that on her own. I don't believe that. Number two, the head gets fully shaved. And basically you're saying you all did that. There's a lie somewhere in here. Because at first, you can go back and look at pictures. She has hair hanging in the front, and then the rest in the back is shaved. And you want me to believe a child would have good... This doesn't make any sense to me. Her head would have been nicked every which way but loose. Her trying to shave her head all around the back and sides and leave hair in the front. One of you did that. And as far as it all being shaved off, one of you did that. And I'm going to bet my bottom dollar this is all Candace doing. Cootie, lights, whatever. Still all Candace. Candace, you cut your hair down because you wanted it off to mimic a male. That was your choice. And I do believe you did also your girl child. Because there's some conflict with me and this shaving of the head business. Because you and Don contradicted one another about the shaved head. I don't know if you wanted your little girl to look like you. I don't know if the child said, yeah, mommy, you shaved all your hair off, shaved mine too. Could have been. But then one would say to themselves, why would you, one, want to shave all of your child's head off? Two, why did you shave it off and then have a patch of hair hanging on the side, hanging in the front initially? And what is the truth to the shaved heads? Did you want your child to look like you? Look boyish? Is this an issue of you already have 3 boys? I'll go ahead and make her look like a boy since she acts like a tomboy. And that's expected. You have masculine ways yourself. You're raising 3 boys, so I can see how a girl child would act tomboyish. There's nobody feminine in the house. So what's the truth to the shaved head? There's just conflict with me with that shaved head business. Because they both speak differently. We just finished it off. Because she went messing with her hair. But I'm telling you, I refuse to believe that little girl shaved her head and had a patch of hair in the front hanging. That looks like something an adult would do, not a child. She would have really messed her head up on her own. I don't know, Bambi. I have no idea. I'm going to finish this off. Thank you all for joining me.
She'd give them a run for their money every day. She'd give them a run for their money. And there was times, you know, we'd be, you know, that our boys like, don't do this and don't do that. Next thing you know, the stick would come up and just whop them, you know, and be like, Summer, don't do that.
Summer was the boss of the family.
She typical girl.
When they get out of line, she put them in line.
She'd do her best.
She loved to play in the mud and the water and swing on her swing and enjoy dirt.
When I run the lawnmower around, she would run behind me. When the boys run their bikes around, she, as fast as that little bike could go, she would be behind them running and keeping up with them, no problem. You know, she loved to run. She just loved to run, and she could pull herself up on that swing, her full body weight with her 2 hands, and she could do that. None of the other boys could do that, but she can.
Was she in school yet?
No, she's going this year.
This was supposed to be her first year.
She's going. We did all the what?
I take care of everything.
Yeah.
I had her already taken all of her shots and registered in the school for ready for this year.
I just never expected for anyone to get hold of my heart like she has, because I try to guard my heart as much as I can, but she holds my heart in her little hands. I love her with all my heart. I'd do anything to have her back. If there's any way you can find it in your heart to please release her somehow. I don't know how you might do that. I mean, you're probably scared of going to prison for the rest of your life and everything else, I'm sure. But please find it in your heart, have mercy, and
Woo, sorry about that, you guys. Hold on 1 second. I can't get nobody's going to let me, hold on 1 second. Hold on. I'm live, honey. All right, everybody. I'm back. Sorry about that. This is just a busy day today. Everybody wants to call. Let's finish this interview.
mercy and find a way of letting her go and where we can get her back. And just please have mercy on her and, you know, and us and her brothers. And she's such a loving, good spirit. Please don't hurt her. Please let her come home. My biggest fear is, you know, her being tormented or locked in a dungeon or basement or something, because she loved to be outside all the time. That was her, unfortunately, her downfall. Because a lot of times the boys would be inside and we'd be like, "Where's Summer? Why'd you leave her out there alone? You know, go get Summer now." You know, and that's happened over and over again. And we'd come out and she would always be close by, but we was always coming up. She had to be outside. She was an outdoor person. She wanted to be outside. You know, and I'm so afraid that she's locked away. She's such a loving heart and everything, and I'm afraid that she won't be able to, you know,
present tense there.
Be outside or play with a puppy or anything. Love nature, you know, and That's my greatest fear, that she's not able to do any of these things anymore, or that she could possibly, you know, I don't want to think she's dead, but it's a possibility. I don't want to address all the negativity. I just want to focus.
That's where Candace looks at him strange. Can't make this stuff up.
It's just not worth it. I appreciate y'all.
Wow.
You say and your prayers. That's awesome.
When my sister got missing, I was in between Arkansas and Tennessee. I don't know all of what happened or what did happen, but I hope that they find her too and bring her home safely too.
Yeah, there's nothing. I mean, she disappeared without a trace. They haven't found anything. Haven't found a body. Nothing. And you know, when you see cases like that, that's why I lose hope on Summer. You know, I want to keep hope, but sometimes I lose hope, and I think, well, maybe we won't never see her again. You know, so I start thinking in past tense. Sorry. But I'm trying to keep hope up. I'm trying to keep my prayers up and all that.
A lot of apologies, a lot of red flags in this interview. I'm going to stop it there because I'm going to hurry up and get you all on here so you can give commentary. 12-minute videos with a little commercial inside. 11 months ago uploaded. WJHL is the source. Candace talking about taking a run walk. She's answering something that was never asked publicly in the interview. As I said, if it was cut, I don't know, from the reporter. Did they cut the interview and not put that in there? Did the interviewer ask her, did she take a walk or run? You never hear it in this interview. So why mention it? The shaved head, still up for controversy. As I said in the beginning, you will see pictures of the child with a patch of hair before a full shaved head was shaved. The mother tries to make it seem like, well, she's a tomboy, blah, 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 or I'm a tomboy, whatsoever. The child was mimicking me. But at one point, the child had hair hanging in the front before all of it was shaved off. I refuse to believe that child shaved the head and left the patch of hair. 2, I don't believe she shaved all of it off. I got a feeling this is all Candace is doing. The shaved head with the patch of hair in the front, and 2, the entire head shaved. And she and Don contradicted each other with this. When he talks about the child being in the basement, once again, contradictory from what the TBI has said about the child going missing from outside. The fact that he's blaming the child, that was her downfall. It makes no sense. You live out in the middle of nowhere. Of course she'd be outside playing on the grass, whatever, on the lawn, what little lawn you have. But if she went missing from the basement, still, like I said, you contradict yourself to say, well, that's her downfall. There's times she'd be out there playing. The boys weren't watching her. I'm asking them, hey, where's your sister? Why aren't you watching her? You know, you can't leave her outside. Oh, now it's her fault that she was outside and got allegedly kidnapped. Well, which is it? She got kidnapped from inside or outside? Because you and the TBI need to get it together. Because I know TBI got their version from you all. You told them you took a walk or run, the dispatch. Then you told the news right here that she went missing from the basement. Then he sits here and contradicts that version by saying her being outside is her downfall, but yet she got missing from the basement. So you just contradicted yourself 2 times in an interview. But this is what happens when you lie. You can't keep up with the lies. You did well by getting her gone, but you didn't do well in the storytelling department. What happened to Summer Wells? Did she go missing from inside the basement? Did she get kidnapped inside or outside? Who would have known she was in the basement? Because let them tell it. It's her fault she was outside. But yet you just told the story she went missing from being in the basement. So which is it? And I think it's funny that TBI won't even say, hey, yeah, we're telling you she went missing from outside because that's what her damn parents told us. But yet all their interviews was pertaining to the basement. But yet they still contradict herself in this report with talking about her being outside and that was her downfall. Let's get started. TBI tells you this week all options are still on the table pertaining to the disappearance of Summer Wells. They searched last weekend for the child. Why are they still searching the Beach Creek community? As I said, per TBI, the child was outside, but yet the parents say she was inside. Which is it? That's the first version mentioned publicly. But the dispatch call that she didn't think we were ever going to hear says she took a walk. And that's never been mentioned publicly about her taking a walk. She decides to throw that in during this interview because she knows that we have heard the rumors on social media and people got wind of her allegedly taking a walk. Where did she go? Don says so much turmoil with YouTubers, blah, 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 but you participated, Don and Candace. You participated to the very end, up until you got arrested and Candace being left to her own devices. Intentional misinformation. TBI says it's been given pertaining to the child. People trying to scam, asking for donations, personal gain. Are the people who have involved themselves in the disappearance of Summer Wells pretending to care about the child, uploading content to YouTube and other platforms? Did they immerse themselves in the case for personal gain? Pretending to take up donations for the child, to pocket their own pocketbook? Possibly so. Happens every day. Getting the boys back. What did they do to get the children back? What have they done to try to get them back? Reunite with the children. I haven't seen anything because I haven't heard that the children have been returned to Candace. Nothing. Nada. You see, had you been taking care of the children appropriately, we wouldn't be talking about Summer Wells or the boys. You would have Summer Wells and you would have the boys. And as I said, why did the children not get placed with relatives? I find that very strange and odd that the children never got placed with any relatives or anybody from the church. As he mentioned in that interview, let me go back to that. Good Christian folks, the people around here are nice, blah, blah, blah. We don't really know them. Funny, you don't know anybody, but everybody knows your damn business. Stay woke. You had your neighbor talking about you, Miss Jody Sue. You had another guy giving information to some YouTubers on the ground months ago in the winter. So it's funny that in this interview, you don't really know the people, but they sure have a lot to say about you and Candace. The state of your property, what you've been doing, not doing, drug issues, all type of stuff. Everybody knows about this couple. But yet in this interview, you don't really know the neighbors. All right. Oh, Lord of mercy. Are the boys permanently gone? How are the boys doing? What do they know about June 15th, 2021? Did they see the child, sister return home with the mother? You see, had you all not been neglectful, wayward, you would have all your children, and you two are culpable of what has happened to Summer Wells and the brothers. Even if you didn't harm her, discard her, you are responsible for all those children being out of your care. And some of us don't believe that Summer is alive, because what you have to ask yourself is, if somebody has her, why did they not do the right thing and tell TBI, hey, we got the child. This is how we got the child. The parents gave her to us, sold her, whatever. Just say it and be done with it, because you don't want to be caught with a living child that everybody thought was possibly deceased. How are you going to explain the child in your custody if she is alive? You're going to have to explain why you had her and never told law officials how you came to get her. You never cared for any of your children. That is obvious. Lawson says he didn't expect this case to go on for a whole year, using up all these agencies to help find the child. They've never been overwhelmed with their sheriff's department to this magnitude. Well, that's because you never had a missing child, obviously, that stayed gone. Most missing children, as you all have said, it's family involved, not outsiders. abductions are rare. And I do find that interesting. Abductions are rare. Imagine Don talking to the news all this time, interviews with different YouTubers, websites, YouTube channels, his own, and he knows damn well where his child is. And he's always known, he and Candace and Miss Candace Hare. Just imagine that. And they consider themselves sly, deceiving the public about where their child is. As most of you know, he's written a Dear Jack letter pertaining to the disappearance of his child. I'm going to read that here shortly. I still believe he's lying. Still searching for the child in the Beach Creek community. Stay woke. Why is that? And they will continue to search per viable information they receive. So once again, you're searching when you decide to in that area, but you're not searching anywhere else, and you're not relaying to the public that you're searching anywhere else. I'm going to keep asking that. Why do you keep searching, law officials, search groups in the Beach Creek area? Do you have digital evidence to tell you that you believe the child was discarded back there? GPS from cell phones, car, that the child was dumped back there in that community. And that's why you keep searching back there. You keep searching near the house, bingo card, red flag. Why? That leads me to believe you know more than what you're telling us. And naturally, from this interview this week, press conference, you're not trying to tell the public nothing. Because you realize they gossip and make stuff up, spin stuff around. So we're not going to tell the public anything because they just mess it up. And the lying and the calling law officials, what he said, she said, where I think the child is, hocus pocus, black magic, voodoo, whatever. Yes, it's a waste of resources. Because every time you call, you're tying up the line for somebody who could be calling with viable information pertaining to the child and or her bio donors. And you all know better. And you're still doing it now. You're still bickering amongst yourselves on social media about a baby you don't even know and you don't even know her parents. Why would you do that? That shows me some of you need to get it together. Because there's too much going on in the world right now to still be talking and gossiping and bickering with random strangers about Summer Wells or any missing person. How about that? What do TBI know about the disappearance of the child? As I said, still searching for her, which leads me to believe that she's out there. Somebody asked about the parents cooperating during the press conference. Ms. Earhart said she's not going to give any characterization pertaining to who's participating or not because it doesn't help the investigation. That's an interesting comment. Doesn't help. Is it because of all the gossip and the innuendos? But Lawson put that out a couple months ago, and as I said, was it true? Because Candace Hare has denied that she has an attorney or her daughter having an attorney and them not cooperating. Who's telling the truth? And why would Sheriff Lawson put that information out if it was not factual? As I said, no mention of outside searches in other jurisdictions ever. Why not? Did the child make it to the house? Was she discarded on her way from Kingsport swimming hole, outing with her parent and grandmother? Was she dumped on her way home while the grandmother was in the car? Or did Candace take the mother and child back to the house, but the child was left asleep in the car and she just let her mother out, backed out of the driveway and discarded the child? Was the child alive on her way back from Kingsport? Did she realize the child was deceased and or pulled up to the house and realized the child was deceased and let her mother get out, dumped the baby and came back with this cockamamie story that the child was dead, dumped her, and then had her mother jump on board with this planting of flowers, cactuses, BS? Does Candace Hare know more than what has been revealed by her and Donnie? Candace. Bly. Is the grandmother also a culprit? Is she covering for her daughter? Did she witness something that day? Was she actually at the swimming hole? Stay woke. Some of you don't think she was. Just asking. What do the boys know? Did they see their sister return home on June 15, 2021? The red truck is not relevant, it seems, in this storyline. You heard Candace mentioning that in the interview. Wish the person would come forward. We don't know anything about the red truck, but yet I believe the red truck is the reason that the Amber Alert was issued, because in this state, in most states, the only way an Amber Alert is issued is if you have identifying information that somebody had the child left in a car, truck, trolley, train, bicycle. There has to be an identifying factor for an Amber Alert to be issued. So the call came in, or the information was put out, at 11 a.m. the next day, which would have been the 16th of June. An Amber Alert. So that means somebody called in this red truck. But now we get information this week that they can't pinpoint a date or location of the car, and possibly the person giving the information has the days mixed up. More searches was asked. Will there be more searches? Earhart says there'll be no specific plan. If it gets specific, if specifics have been given, then they will go back out and search for the child in buildings. If they get let me say this again. If they get a specific information, building, pertaining to the child, then they'll go back out. It's a very interesting comment, because that means you're relying on somebody naturally to give you information that appears solid for you to go back out and search. But the weird part of the story is possibly the obvious part of the story. You keep searching in Beach Creek. Stay woke. Why? No evidence of an abduction. That was asked. Bingo card. No evidence of an abduction. Well, I'm going to tell you why there's no evidence of an abduction. Because she told the dispatch, Candace, she took a walk. She tells the news the baby went missing from the basement. But yet, per TBI, the child went missing from outside. And during that interview with this lady, Miss Ansley, you contradicted yourself, both of you, of the child going missing from the basement and outside, and blaming the child for going missing outside. But yet you just agreed with your wife that she got taken from inside of the basement. So which is it? Outside or inside? Talking in past tense, talking about shaved heads, talking about good Christian people helping, good Christian people aiding you. Well, where are those good Christian people now? Are you still in relations in good standing with Robin? Does Robin still talk to Don and Candace Bly? What is the relationship between she's fallen off. You don't hear much about her talking to my knowledge, because I don't follow content pertaining to this story, because I don't have the time to indulge in foolishness, because this is a serious case of a child missing and it got out of control, and I also have to own my part in what I participate in. She's still missing. The reporter asks, lastly, is there one theory that weighs more than the other? And the answer was no. Interesting. As I said, does the grandmother know more about the disappearance? Is Rose Bly's disappearance a connection to the story? Will there be arrests soon? Does TBI know more than what they are revealing, such as with the case of Cal City? We later find out that law officials knew way more than what they told the public. They handed that story off, case to Bakersfield 1 month later. They had information 1 week into the investigation that the child was involved in the death of the 2 boys, and that the parents coerced the children, aided the children in killing the children. And yet for 1 year, nobody ever knew any of this information. Could it be that TBI, the sheriff's department here, knows way more than what they're telling us. And this is a replica of Cal City. They know a whole lot more. They're just not telling us because they've seen how the story has played out on YouTube and Facebook. So hell no, we're not telling them nothing. Will this case go into the year with no leads, no arrests? Was she sold? Summer Wells. Deliberate homicide, accident, and then cover up, discarded. If it was an accident, why would you not call 911? Hello, dear. If she had an accident, if one of the children harmed her, she fell down the stairs, she fell outside, she got too overheated, why would you not call 911? Because what you're saying about the Wells, allegedly, if it was an accident and they covered it up, you're basically saying that they're just trifling heathens that will cover up the death of their child because of how they lived and knew or suspected that the law would think they were behind the death of the child, although it would be an accident, allegedly. But we know that they're trifling because of the state of the property, how it looks up there. And that's also been mentioned here recently in commentary pertaining to Summer Wells. The state of the house, toys still thrown about. The driveway has eroded more. So sad to hear that 1 year later that nothing has changed pertaining to the castle on the hill. Devil's Alley. And where is Candace Bly now? What does she have to say 1 year later about her child? They have accumulated digital evidence. What is it? Is there something pinging back there in Beach Creek pertaining to the disappearance of Summer? 100 agents working the case. A lot of people. Areas of interest, which tends to be Beach Creek once again. This leads me to believe that they know Summer Wells is discarded back there in the general area of Beach Creek because they will not let go of that area for some reason. And you have to ask yourself why. Almost 2 hours in, I'm going to let you all have your way here in a minute. HITC is the source. Update pertaining to Summer Wells. 5-year-old Summer Wells disappeared evening of June 15, 2021. An investigation to find her still active. Tennessee Bureau of Investigation released a statement. Summer Wells' case 1 year after she disappeared from her home. 5-year-old girl was nowhere to be found when her mother returned from gardening with the grandmother, Fox News reports. Summer was last seen outside her home in the 100 block of Ben Hill Road, Rogersville, Tennessee. Once again, it's crazy information. In the last year, officials have interviewed 170 witnesses and continuously searched the property as well as surrounding land and air. They have used the help of drones, divers to search the area. They have also reviewed digital evidence. The investigation included 100 agents, intelligence analysts, other staff. In a press release, TBI said that the investigation is ongoing, active. This week, authorities returned to Hawkins County as part of a planned search to focus on previously identified areas of interest, quote unquote. Additionally, agents and detectives continue to follow up on potential leads. Their statement continued. If you have any information that's credible, 1-800-TBI-FIND. The press release added that Mount Carmel Free Will Baptist Church has been used as a location for 3 large-scale searches. The full update is available on the Tennessee Bureau's Investigation Facebook, official Facebook profile if you want to find out any information pertaining to this case. TBI's statement. Our team continues to work with other agencies to chase every lead we can. This morning, we'll update the effort at 11 a.m. media availability, and this was on Wednesday. Donna Wells has released a statement pertaining to the disappearance of his child. Since you've been gone, I've been completely devastated. I looked everywhere for you, my beautiful girl. I thought YouTube would be the most powerful tool to help find you, and perhaps it still could be. But at a price we may not be able to afford, our family may not survive. He continued, so I asked God, please look over my precious daughter. We love her so much. We will, God, you will return her to us as well as the boys. I would be so happy to be a family again. In the same media release, TBI said that they have received 2,000 tips from the public, but the majority of them have come from sources involving rumors and speculations. Authorities said that while they appreciate the help of the community, they ask people not to submit tips as a result of information seen in a YouTube video or other online posts. Moving forward, we ask the public not to submit tips as a result of a video you viewed on YouTube, a theory you've seen on Facebook. Please help us and only call if you have direct, specific information about the disappearance of Summer. In other news, officials issue update on Mrs. Summer 1 year after her disappearance. Please go to the TBI's Facebook if you want to update. Also asked in this conference was about the reward. I found it strange that Ms. Earhart didn't have the dollar amount and she told the person where to go to get the said information pertaining to the reward. Well, that's strange to me. I know you don't want to answer certain questions about the investigation, but damn, you can't even tell the people what the award amount is. The reward amount is it really that detrimental that you can't even tell us what the amount is? I mean, this is, I give up. Welcome to Everyday Shenanigans. Thank you for joining me. This is an update pertaining to the disappearance of a child going missing out of the holler. It's 1 year later, and there's been no new information to her disappearance. I'm 2 hours into this interview, live stream rather. You want to go back to the beginning? Feel free to recap all information pertaining to her disappearance. I give a source with all information, plus my own personal commentary pertaining to this child. You're entitled to believe what you want, but in the end, there are many red flags pertaining to this case, and most of it stems from her parents. I do not believe they have been truthful to her disappearance. I think it's obvious. They know more than what they have told us. And why they're holding out, I do not know. When will the father be released from custody? I do not know. But I don't think life is great up on the hill since Don has gone. This woman does not work, hold down a job, doesn't go to school. So you have to count day for day, hour for hour, not having any money generating inside of your home. You have bills to pay. So how are they paying for bills? How is she paying for bills at this location? Just asking. How is Candace paying? Because, rumors came out that she didn't have any money. Asking for money. Then she denied that she was asking the public for money through Cash App. So why didn't the father leave Candace money? Did he pay up the bills for a couple of months with savings? If you want to join the discussion, hit the link and give me your opinion pertaining to the disappearance of the child. Information per TBI of no new leads. Searching last weekend. The fact that people trying to scam off of Summer's name has caused a big uproar with the case. Disruption to the case. False information, allegations, speculations has caused a problem. I think Jay read this sometime this summer, if I'm not mistaken. And yes, will there be a new reward? Because it comes up for review this summer, if I'm not mistaken. Hit the link, 105 viewing. Thank you for patronizing. If you'd like to donate to the channel, $ Big Andrew, 129 Cash App. All stickers are welcome. Thank you all so much. It's a lot of information to bring you because I wanted to go back and recap everything that was said from last year. pertaining to her case. Want to leave anything out? Well, let's see what else. Yeah, I got a feeling everybody knows what happens, baby. They all know what happened to the child. Is this considered a cold case? Q&A, TBI, and reporter. No. Investigative work continues to occur almost daily. Is the Amber Alert still active? Yes, an Amber Alert remains active until the child is located. When was Summer last seen? Her mother reports last seeing her on the afternoon of June 15th at their home in the 100 block of Ben Hill Road. In order to preserve the integrity of the investigation, we will not provide additional information regarding the timeline. Why is that? Next question. Have you searched the home and property around the residence? Yes, more than once, including the basement, crawl space, vehicles, outbuildings, barrels, and other items located on the property. Additionally, K-9 teams specializing in a variety of search methods have also been utilized. Have you searched the phones, computers belonging to the Wells family? Yes, working alongside the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office, FBI. Numerous subpoenas and search warrants have been obtained, resulting in any available digital evidence being collected, searched, documented. This includes social media accounts. Have you analyzed cell phone data? Yes, cell phone data and cell tower data have been analyzed. Have you searched the flower bed? There was not a flower bed. Summer's mother and grandmother stated that she was planting flowers with them shortly before she was last seen. The flowers were planted in pots, and yes, the pots were examined. The many ground searches have been conducted. How many? 3 large-scale searches have occurred. Dozens of other targeted searches have been conducted over the last year as a result of investigators following up on leads. Have you searched waterways in the area? Yes, dive teams were brought in to search for bodies of water in the area on several different occasions. Have you conducted area searches? Yes. Numerous searches from the air have been completed. Additionally, drones were used to map the area, pinpoint bodies of water, as well as any points of interest. Rogers View reviewed. It's the source. Thank you, Kathy, so much. Anytime, dear. Oh, thank you so much, Boston's mom. Thank you so much for that. Do we know where Candace and Grandma are? I'm sure TBI know where they are. Yes, I'm sure. Please join us. Hit the link if you want to give your opinion pertaining to the information I've divulged in this live pertaining to TBI, Don's letter to his child and the general public. Where is everybody standing in this case? Where is Miss Robin? Where is Candace Bly? Where is Miss Hara? When is Don getting out of jail? Will he be getting out of jail anytime soon? Are there any new leads? What is the reward amount total now? What do they know? TBI pertaining to the disappearance of this baby. Do they know more than what they're saying? The fact that they will not give any information to the timeline tells you something, because perhaps it has been a lie. So we're not going to keep repeating to you, she went missing from 100 Ben Circle Way, because hell, she maybe never made it there. We told you she went missing from outside, but yet you have interviews with them saying she went missing from a basement. Somebody took her from the basement. So it's contradictory. And really, I don't think TBI should have ever said she went missing from outside, because they did a public interview with Miss Ansley saying she went missing from the basement. So TBI is not giving the same version as the parents. And that to me is a problem. And TBI should know better. They should have corrected that. Or they should have said, hell, we don't really know where she went missing from, because we're getting different versions. Come on, speed it up. Let's do what they did with Megan Boswell. The sheriff there said, hell, I'm not getting ready to say nothing crazy. I'm not getting ready to lie to the public about this dizzy ass girl. She's given us different versions from day one, and we've never seen anything like this before in our law enforcement investigations. And I'm glad the sheriff said that about Megan Boswell. He told the truth. He wasn't going to keep standing up in front of the news spewing out stuff that wasn't true or verified. So he finally just told everybody 2 years ago, hey, this girl keeps giving us different versions, which leads us to believe she knows more than what she's telling us. And now we find out later, she had already admitted to them during the investigation, allegedly the child was dead and that the father rolled over on the baby. Boyfriend rolled over on the baby, which I believe that's also a lie too. Because if the boyfriend rolled over on that baby, then why isn't he arrested for knowledge of knowing that the child was dead? Megan Boswell is a big liar, and so is this damn Candace Bly. That's my personal opinion. It's time to put an end to this madness. It all boils down to Summer not being watched, taken care of. Yes, I agree. I don't know, Fonda, what's going on with Donald Wells. I don't know if he's in the running to get out. I have no idea, dear. I'm 2 hours in. If you want to give your opinion, the link is open. TBI, I'm sure, has a theory. All these wackadoodles, they probably can't release new info because it would compromise. Yes, and that's what's sad about this case is that because of all the buffoonery on Facebook groups, people asking for donations for themselves, pocketing the money, schemes, scammers, voodoo, psychics, all this BS, lies, rumors, people calling, worrying the TBI, the sheriff's office, stalking those people, doxing people. They have decided to stay mum. And that's sad because there are some people who are actually concerned about the whereabouts of the child, the state of the children, the boy children, because as I said, they are an extension of Summer Wells. We cannot leave them out either. But now TBI is not going to tell us nothing because of all this meddling. All these wannabe rock stars, superstars that want to be seen and act like they care about the child. You don't care about the child. You've proven that in your lives. I've seen a lot of just disrespectful stuff live here on YouTube pertaining to the children. Still, even now, 1 year in, bickering, arguing with people about who said what, who didn't do what. It's like, are you serious? How do you have this kind of time to be bickering with people? I'm not promoting any of that because my thing is this. I didn't come to this network for any of that. I came to bring you breaking news about entertainment, true crime, and I'm not participating in that type of foolishness because to me it's a waste of time. You know, you can have a good laugh off of some of the stuff that these stupid ass people have been doing up here on this box, but in the end, it's disrespectful to the little girl. It's disrespectful to her brothers. It's disrespectful to anybody missing. It's disrespectful to the law enforcement. It's disrespectful to people out here willingly going out here searching for the missing person. And it's disrespectful to people who are actually concerned about the missing person because you're making a mockery with all the jokes and the, on and on and on, making videos about the other people who are talking about the little girl and what you think they're doing wrong. It's all foolishness and it's not leading nowhere to viable information about her. And it's vile. Well, Jay, I don't know if she was walking away. My thing is, if I saw her walking, why didn't I go get the child? Why didn't I take the child to her parents? Even if you didn't know where she lived, you could ask her, excuse me, honey, where do you live? Do you live near here? What are you doing out here? So see, all that's crazy. She's last seen in the basement. Last seen playing outside. Now it's, she wandered away. All these different versions. Somebody saying footprints at a neighbor's house. But yet, TBI has never told you they found footprints. See, this is what I'm telling you. All these different rumors. But nothing has been substantiated by the sheriff's department and TBI. So you're talking about the mother walking away, running away, not substantiated by law enforcement. The issue of them planting the flowers, that's been asked. She says yes, Ms. Earhart, but they were pots, not a flower bed. So the child ain't buried in no flower bed because it was never a flower bed. So you have to stay woke to the information. And a lot of people can't decipher what has been revealed. You like to take and spin stuff according to your ideologies. I only assess what's been told. I don't go off and make up wild stories because it's wrong. I can assume what I think could have happened. I use common sense in discussing any story. I live here in East Tennessee, so I know how we navigate here. And I know back up there in them woods, I can't see it. I'm just going to tell you the truth. I'm just going to tell you the truth. Don't think that people don't have cameras, especially on private property, especially people who live back up in the woods that have money. You can best believe they have cameras back up in there to make sure your ass is not wandering around out there. Custom built homes, you know damn well they have security because they don't want you coming up in there breaking up in their damn house because they know there could be that one chance while they going to work, vacation, or if it's a vacation house, somebody would wander back there, break in their house. That's why you have security. That's why you have a security gate. Now, poor people may not be able to afford a lot of massive security on trees, starting at the front entrance of a property, but you need to have something near your house to show a suspects breaking in or wandering around. When you look at how these people live, they didn't have anything of value to take because we've seen the outside of the house, the inside. The only thing they could have had would be some money stashed from possibly illegal doings. And we don't have much verification if the father and the mother were participating in drug sales or drug trafficking. We just know that they've used alcohol and narcotics. But I do not believe somebody went back there to steal a child or steal Summer specifically. I don't believe that. No way I believe that. And as I said, with the child having a shaved head, if a stranger was out looking around for a child to abduct and fixated on this property, or the child would have appeared to be a boy. Stay woke. So from afar, if you are peeping through the woods, trees, through camera lens, you're looking at a boy, unless she was wearing a dress at the time that you fancied the child. And then your better half would have been, well, damn, I believe this is a boy dressed like a girl. Stay woke. That's my assessment. Yes, the boy's not being returned is very telling. Very telling. Why have the children not been returned? It's the obvious. The parents have not complied with the state regulations to get them back. And that would lead me to believe perhaps the mother did not want her children back, she or Don. Because you have to remember, the children went missing 6 weeks after the case came to fruition. So that means Donna Wells is just as guilty. You did not do anything to help get your children back either before you went to jail. You did not go to jail until 2022. So that means you had months to get your life in order. Stop drinking. Stop popping pills, drugs, whatever you all were on. You didn't care. Your wife didn't care. Hell, mama didn't care either. And the fact that the mother took off after the little girl goes missing, who does that? Your granddaughter is missing and you take off. What type of human does that? Makes no sense. Thank you, Esley. Thank you. Your grandchild is missing and you leave the state. Very disrespectful. This goes to show you nobody cared for the children. Nobody cared for Summer. Nobody cared for the boys. You have to go back in history when She first had her original children. Why didn't her mother step up to take care of her children or take her children in? Why did she hook up with Donald Wells to get impregnated to make these children when she already had been down this road before with the last baby's father and her children being put in the state's care? That father gave those children over to the state. Why did he call? Allegedly, she gave the children to him, but he calls the state. So why did Kandi go back down this road again? 6 degrees of separation. She puts herself right back in this situation again. The fact that she says also in the interview she was in between states, Arkansas and Tennessee, when her sister Rose Bly went missing. Some of you want to put her into that. You got to show cause. You got to show proof she was in the state of Wisconsin. She had knowledge. She had a motive for getting her sister gone. Stay woke. You don't have no proof to nothing. Well, Jeanette, this is what happens with true crime. You can't make it more than what it is. If this is all they want to give us, this is it. They haven't really given us much of anything. Just telling us how many people were involved in the case, investigating, that they've searched numerous places around the area, really just Beach Creek. But they can't tell you anything about the boys. She couldn't tell you anything about the reward. She can't tell you anything about if they're cooperating or not. Didn't tell us anything. Just that if they do another search, they'll let us know. And I think they're telling you everything you need to know as far as they think the child got missing back there. So let's chop up. The child wandered off. She got attacked by an animal. Let's specify what, how many miles you think she could have gotten by foot. Children can travel a little ways because many people have been stunned to find how far children can wander off. You still believe a dog would have found a trail of where she could have ended in life if it was an animal attack. I think they would have found her. My opinion. There would have been something, some remnants of the child where a canine would have found something a few miles from the house. All the innuendos, stories, there was a scream that has been debunked by law officials. So then you have to question the person that brought forth that information, the person that brought information pertaining to the red truck. That's not ironclad either, as you heard in this commentary by the FBI, TBI, excuse me. This is just a bad case. Nothing solid pertaining to the disappearance of a child. Children now in the state's care. Parents have done absolutely nothing to get their damn kids back, but instead blame YouTube as the problem. YouTube was not your problem. Your problem started when you bore children, opened your legs and conceived a baby, and a baby, and a baby, and a baby, and on, and you provided sperm. That was your start of your problem. Getting in cahoots with every Tom, Dick, and Harry, having them around your children. Using drugs, alcohol, not caring about your hygiene, how you're living. That's your problem. It's nothing to do with YouTube. Because if there was no YouTube, you still would not have your children back. How about that? If there was no Facebook, no TikTok, no Twitter, Snapchat, no apps, you all will still be in the place that you're in because you've been in this place before. Before you two met one another, you were in dire straits, involved with the law, involved with DHS, in other states. So let's count the other states you've lived in where you have been involved with Department of Human Services. That has nothing to do with YouTube. That has nothing to do with Rogersville, Kingsport. That has nothing to do with the state of Tennessee. You all are misfits. You don't care about yourselves. You don't care about nothing but getting high, getting drunk. That is a you problem, not a Tennessee problem, not a YouTube problem. YouTube has just helped exacerbate that you two are jacked up. That's all. Yeah, I feel sorry for the boys. I hope they're in a better place. I hope they have gotten some decent counseling. I pray that the person that's taking care of them, plural, is doing a good job and an exceptionally well job. I hope they're doing right by the boys. I hope they're treating them with respect, because this is a pivotal time for a young person. Everything that happens to a child forms his or her identity as a child. That is when your identity is formed, is when you're a child. So everything that happens to them, how they're treated, will form their identity. It's very sad. Well, yes, it's hard not to, of course. We're human beings, so they know why we've been pointing the finger at them, because they've given us ammunition with their behavior and the different stories pertaining to June 15th. Had they just laid quiet and never said nothing, stayed off of social media, never commented about he said, she said when their friend Allie came forward, Boy H's interview, they could have just declined to comment. Stayed out of the way and let law officials investigate the case, you probably would have less gossip. But the jump off was when her friend and her son went to the interview room to talk. Then they responded. Then she ended up talking to the same man, letting them see the compound. It just made it worse. It's made it worse. It is what it is. You can't take it back now. And then every time Dick and Harry started coming out thereafter, giving their rendition of what happened, their dealings with the family, just made it worse. It's a very sad situation. But that's my commentary pertaining to the disappearance of Summer Wells. We're 1 year in, and there are no new leads or arrests pertaining to her disappearance. Her brothers are still in foster care. I do not know exactly where they are located and with whom. I do find it baffling that there are no family members that took the children in, but this just goes back to Candace having children before and no relatives stepped in to raise those children. Now she meets another man. She's in the same predicament, and nobody from her family took the children in, nor Donald Wells' family. And you have to ask yourself, why not? You all have come forward with all these allegations against Donald Wells, but yet none of you have his children. So that leads us to believe that you all did not have a relationship with Donald Wells or Candace Bly or the children. And why did the state not place the children with any relatives? Were there not any relatives to come forward to take the children? Could they not find any decent relatives to take the children? And also the status of that case, which I don't want to get into that because I only want to stick to what's going on with Summer Wells. But I do not know the status of any other investigations pertaining to Donald Wells. Where is Candace Bly? I do not keep up with the latest rhetoric pertaining to she because I don't have that kind of time. But where is she? She was on social media for the past couple of months, getting involved with every Tom, Dick, and Harry and Boo Boo the Clown. Now some of you in the chat were saying she's been quiet. Why is that? Why are you quiet now? A little late in the game to play possum. You and your husband have made a mockery out of this case, talking to all these stupid ass people on YouTube, being interviewed on and on and on, and just talking about absolutely nothing, never talking about your child, which shows cause that you don't care about your child or your other boys for 5 minutes of clout fame. Hello, Marge. How are you? Thank you for joining. Very sickening. But this shows that the children had no business with the Wells. The fact that you could get up and talk to strangers on cameras, and every time you talk, they're showing people that you're talking. See, a real friend would never record your conversation. A real friend would never play audio from your conversation. For what reason? Why am I going to play your conversation on a live stream? For what reason? If I like you, you're my friend, I have no reason to show our conversation. I have no reason to show your text messages that you sent to me or that I sent to you. You see, this is when you know that the people's spirit up here is not right, because you're engaging in foolishness about a little girl and her goofy ass parents to prove what? What is the point? which shows me you're just as whack as the parents. I don't need to show anybody nothing, verify anything. You either believe me or you don't. Because that's when it becomes a mockery, when you have to start putting your cell phone up to a live stream to show what you said to Pookie, what Bubba said back to you, verified this and that, being accused of scamming, scheming people. You got to show verification of whatever they did, didn't do, what they think you stole, didn't stole. I'm not going to put myself on up here to verify nothing because I don't engage in none of that. But I think it's sad that it went to this level pertaining to the disappearance of the child. I've never seen anything like it. I watch a lot of true crime stories, and I haven't heard of anybody having to do all this verification of stuff, and they're not even involved with the child or the parents. I could see somebody verifying stuff on their phone if they've been accused of something pertaining to the disappearance of the person. But just a random bloke, I ain't got to show you nothing. For what? This is sickening to me. I just sit back and laugh because I think it's disgusting. As I said, we've all made derogatory comments about these two and these other crazy people that have immersed themselves. But you have to step back and really look at this story and realize it's out of control. And to participate with the people that just can't stop themselves from acting out shows me that there are a lot of sick people like Don and Candace. And a lot of you don't realize that you are off the edge. You are dangling off the ledge and about to fall into the abyss. And some of you have already fallen in the abyss and you're still down there. And you like being down there because that shows me you have a troubled spirit. You have a chaotic life because only chaotic people will continue to indulge in chaos. And there's just really no logical reason to be jumping in the story when you don't know the people. There's just no logical reason to do that. No, I don't watch other things pertaining to this story as of late. I don't watch anything. It seems kind of pointless at this time, at this juncture. Because now you're still talking about he said, she said a year later. And you have to also question the motive, plural, of anybody coming forward with information about a story 5 months in, 6 months in, 7 months in, 1 year in. You don't know what to believe and what's the truth and what is the motivation behind the information. So I don't participate in anything now pertaining to the disappearance of this baby. I just pray that they will get to the bottom of where she is and where she can be located and all parties involved in her disappearance. And that's my said information pertaining to this case. I think it's a very sad case, but I do believe the children, boy children, do not need to be in their care. I do not think they need to be returned to them. And I don't think that they will be returned because you're talking about almost a year that the children have been gone, be another month and a half when the children were removed. And you have to ask yourselves, why were the children removed? And why have the parents not complied in getting the children back? It does not take a year to get your children back. Because had they did whatever the state asked them to do, the children would have been returned to them. So perhaps Don and Candace did not want their children back. And that's why they haven't done anything to get them back. And perhaps the children are in a better place, which I do believe they are. I'm not even going to speculate on that. I got to pray that they're in good hands. Let me say that. But they do not need to be returned to Candace and Don ever. They've had a second run at bearing children, rearing children. And they have not been successful in rearing children. So therefore, they don't need them back. And they don't need to have any more children. What will become of the house on the hill, on the mount? Will she be able to continue to pay the bills at that house Will he get out of jail soon? And if he gets out of jail later, which will be 23, winter 23, what would he be returning to? Donald Wells. Did he pay his taxes before he went to jail? Will he even have running water, lights on, gas on at Ben Hill? The state of the property will probably be worse than it already is, because you have to count vermin, wild animals, grass not being cut. It's a breeding ground for the wild. You're already in the wild as it is. But you have to keep your grass and lawn cut down as to not to have abundance of wildlife habitating on the mountain. Did he leave his property to somebody to watch, caretake, cut the grass? Possibly not. How is Donald Wells inside? Eating well, lost weight, worried, guilty, want to tell the truth, scared to tell the truth. What is the state of Donald Wells? What is the state of Candace Harris, the grandmother? Where is she? What is her role in this case? What is her knowledge of the child? Candace Blythe, the ultimate deceiver as well. What is her stake in this? Yeah, I know he can't keep his mouth closed. That's why the case got out of control. What will become of this case? What does Candace Blythe know? What is her role in the disappearance of her child? Did she deliberately hurt her child because she no longer wanted to be a mother? Was there an accident after the swimming hole at the swimming hole? Was the child alive when she was put into the car? Did the child pass away on the ride in the car back to Beach Creek? At what point did she realize her child was not alive if this was an accident? Did something happen to the child when she returned to the house? Did she fall? Did she get hurt? Is another child involved? At what point was the child no longer alive? Did they take a dead child back to 110? Did she drop off her mother and then took the child back out to discard the child? What happened to the child? Because I do not believe the child was abducted for the various reasons, the obvious reasons. 3 boy children were left alone. An abductor had ample enough time to take children if he or she was surveying the house. Who's to say that the children did not come outside to play during the hours that Candace Blythe and Miss Harrell were gone? So you have to always ask the obvious questions. And what are the odds of a child being gone all day with the mother from morning to early evening to only come back to be the one abducted? Very unlikely. Very unlikely, in my opinion. And that means the abductor would have had to know that the child returned home and where the child could be abducted from. And there were dogs on the property, and you want me to believe in my right mind, dogs don't bark. So we're talking about mute dogs. All the dogs are handicapped or were. I did have information pertaining to the state of the house and what was returned. I don't know where she is, Dee Dee. I haven't heard anything. I have no idea. Yes, father currently in jail, wrote a letter. I read you that letter during this live. It also states that he's been spending his days in jail reading the Bible and letters. Oh, Lord. What a mess. He's completely devastated. The letter also concludes the Lord's Prayer and his signature. This was issued through the family's website and the YouTube channel. I was trying to find information about the house. I had information pertaining to the state of the house. I had pulled up some information. Or whoever she's with, well, that's what should have happened in the beginning. Should have been stayed off of YouTube. I'm going to read you this information. I thought I had this. 1 year later, searcher reflects on Summer Wells' case. This is uploaded the 12th of June. On June 15, 2021, around 6:30 p.m., 5-year-old Summer Wells was reported missing. More than 120 teams, including members of the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, and Church Hill Rescue Squad searched a wide area surrounding her family's Beach Creek home for 13 days. The entrance to the residence's long driveway was blocked with crime scene tape. Emergency personnel roamed the woods. Now, 1 year later, the residence that used to be the home of a family of 6 looks like a shell of its former self. The driveway leading to the house has almost eroded away. As you trek up the hill toward the home, forgotten toys covered in grass and vines line the dirt road. Near the top of the hill, you step on the carcass of a partially buried doll. Then you see the house. Part of it is covered in yellow siding, while the rest is exposed plywood. The yard is full of old vehicles and miscellaneous items. When you leave the house and approach the entrance to Ben Hill Road, you see missing child signs with Summer's photo. Tim Coop, captain of CHRS, acted as the incident commander of search operations for 10 of the 13 days emergency personnel combed the area. Coop said Summer's disappearance impacted him on an emotional level, which encouraged him to put his very best efforts into searching for her. I joined the rescue squad to assist and give back to my community, Coop said. I also have a small child of my own, and the way this call was, it laid heavy on my heart that I had to be there and do everything that I could to try to locate Summer Wells. Coop said the search efforts were very time-consuming, difficult for the searchers due to the extremely dense canopy, along with excessively steep terrain. Authorities utilized several specialized teams, including K-9, helicopters, fixed-wing drones, and even divers. There was a large amount of different levels of resources used, which each had different key things that ultimately will lead to finding Summer Wells, Coop said. Coop said researchers received an outpouring of support in regard to the child's disappearance. From the response that we received by donations from the community, it heavily impacted our community, Coop said. It heavily impacted the responding agencies also from all over the nation and the world. We have received thank you messages from people all over the world. For our agency, this call was just as important as the rest of the calls that we received. But with the age of Summer, that does add another element to the call. Coop said the CHRS continues working with different agencies to find Summer. The CHRS is also the agency in charge of Summer Wells Reward Fund. The last total reported by the Times News was $40,423.81. The squad plans to release an update about the reward in a few days. Leslie Earhart, Public Information Officer for the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, said the agency hasn't given up on Summer's case. TBI and the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office continue to work alongside the FBI to determine what happened to Summer Wells, Earhart said. Detectives will continue to pursue all potential leads. We ask anyone with credible, first-hand information about Summer's disappearance to call 1-800-TBI-FIND. The Hawkins County Humane Society said that Candace Wells, Summer's mother, surrendered 7 dogs to the shelter and 1 cat. The first set of animals was surrendered in December, while the rest came in May. 6 of the animals have been adopted. The remaining 2 will be neutered later this month, and shelter employees also expect them to be adopted. The Times News reached out to the HCSO about Summer's case, but received no comment. The Times News also contacted the Knoxville Division of the FBI, which also had no comment. In addition, the Times News mailed a letter to Don Wells, Summer's father, who was serving time in Hawkins County Jail for DUI, but received no response. Staff made an official request with officials from the HCSO for an interview with Wells. It was denied. The Times News also attempted to contact Candace Wells by phone an email and visited her residence twice, but received no response. Staff also attempted to contact Summer's grandmother, Candace Hara, by social media and visiting her residence. So I guess that means also she did not comply or respond. If you need verification for this information, which I think this is the most information we've gotten from the whole week of this storyline, it's Times News Net. Going to recap what was said in this live information. Donald Wells was asked for an interview. The jail denied. This news agent has tried to contact Candace and her grandmother. No response. They've gone by her house. No response. 2 times. They've contacted law officials, TBI, the Knoxville Field Agency. No response. Let's go over to all the animals. Everybody was raising hell about the animals on the property. As the agency told you, the animal shelter, they do not have jurisdiction to remove animals. That is the sheriff's department. So when a certain person and persons were raising hell about the animals, you should have taken your complaint to the sheriff's department. Because every city, state, county don't run their animal shelter the same. And if you knew your homework, you would have known that before stalking people and threatening them about some hillbillies ass animals. Yeah, I said that. You're so damn concerned about the animals. Why the hell you should go up there and get it? You all have stayed on the ground running up there, stalking these crazy ass people, running up, bothering the neighbors. Well, just go up there and get the animals. You've had enough time. You all been down there. How many times? Everybody that's so concerned, you should have went up there and got them. Yeah, it would have been theft, but you didn't care anyway, being down there raising hell, a day late, $1 short. Stupid. Stupid, stupid, stupid. As I said, the reward stands at $40,423.81. More information should be released this week pertaining to the update on the reward. If you have information, call 1-800-TBI-FINE pertaining to the child. And the Hawkins County Humane Society said that Candace Wells has surrendered 7 dogs to the shelter and 1 cat. The first set were surrendered in December for those who were raising hell about animals this year. 6 of the animals have been adopted. The remaining 2 will be neutered later this month, and shelter employees also expect them to be adopted. Yes, Cherie, just want to be seen. Thank you, Pandora's Box. Exactly. Running around raising hell about animals that were already surrendered. So whatever animals you saw behind, obviously the sheriff didn't care to go take the animals if they thought that they were abused, neglected, whatever. I would assume the sheriff's department would have gone by to check on the animals periodically. I do not know because I don't live there. But with you raising hell and calling all the damn time, I would assume they would have gone out to see if the animals needed some type of care. And if they felt the need that the animals should stay there, then there's nothing they could do if they didn't think that the animals were being mistreated. So as I said, that's up to you to argue with the sheriff's department, not the Humane Society, because they're not in conjunction with one another. But as I said, when you're out here raising hell, you should possibly do your homework first before making live videos, bitching and moaning about animals. Hell, if that's the case, you're so concerned about the animals, why not talk to the city and the county about their damn house? You're so concerned about the wells. What do you have to say about the property? Because in this commentary, it says plywood is exposed, so the house is possibly falling apart. So why not call the county's clerk's office and complain about the state of the property? You're so concerned about the animals. Why not complain about the state of the property where the animals were residing? Hey, this place is bad. It's dangerous. But The clerk will tell you, well, that's a personal problem for the family. They want to live there. Thank you, Pandora's Box. Thank you. Well, that's the whole point. You don't go accuse people. And even if you find out that you made a mistake, such as I did in this article, one of you decided to tell me the guy individual has been to all the prayer vigils. But even going to a prayer vigil, was the person out in the community passing out flyers, doing things? Because anybody can go to a prayer vigil. But have you been active in getting the information out to the public about Summer? That's what I was curious about. Let me make that clear. But if I stand corrected, I don't have a problem with cleaning it up. But once again, all the fussing and fussing and fussing has made a mockery out of this case, and you all have lost focus. The focus is the child. You should know from day one, Department of Human Services, the Sheriff's Department, TBI, FBI, knew what they had walked upon the day that the child was reported missing. So anything done by these agencies thereafter was on them. They knew the state of the property. They knew what the house looked like on the inside. They got a gist of criminal backgrounds from the father, the mother, anything they could find out through DHS. 9 times out of 10, they knew of her previous hiatus with her children that were given up to the state, allegations of abuse between she and the father of those said children. You know damn well they know all of that. And the fact that they wanted to leave the children on the property, the animals on the property, that's between the Sheriff's Department. The Sheriff's Department and Candace and Don. And if the sheriff didn't think it was necessary to take the animals day one, stay woke. Day one is when you would remove children and animals if you felt like they were being abused, neglected. But they did not do that. See, this is why I know you all don't pay attention to the information. Day one, they went on the property and saw how the Wells were living. The children stayed there for 6 weeks. Let's go back to that since you want to cry about animals. Why would the state allow 3 children to stay on the property for 6 weeks and this little girl's missing and you saw the state of the house inside and out? I always question that. So that's what made me wonder that maybe there was no investigation into the state attempting to take children from their custody before Summer went missing. Because you can't logically explain leaving 3 babies there, 3 boy children there, and one's missing, and the state was allegedly investigating them for child abuse or child neglect. Then why the fuck are you going to leave 3 boys there? Thank you, Spread Love. See, that makes no sense to me. I'm investigating you for abusing your children, but then I'm going to leave 3 boys there for 6 weeks while the mommy and daddy go play on YouTube, on the YouTube streets, hopscotch, shoots and ladders with a bunch of nimwits. Do the math. Because maybe all the gossip you were hearing from Allie and all these other outside gossipers, maybe there was no truth to an investigation. And the state is never going to tell you that they were investigating the Wells for child neglect or any other type of abuse. But one thing we can say, if indeed there was an investigation before Summer went missing, the state is liable for leaving those children in their care after Summer went missing. And nobody's going to tell us the truth without risking their job and also being brought up on charges for bringing up the information and bringing it out. The sheriff was dropping off food to the last set of dogs left. Why? Because the animal shelter was completely full. I don't know, honey. But all I'm saying is that the sheriff's office, allegedly, and the Humane Society, they are not in conjunction with each other. That's what was said a few months ago when people were raising hell about the animals. They said they don't have jurisdiction to seize animals. So that's why I said every local agency is not ran like the town next door or the city next door. And if the people said, hey, we can't take the animals off the property, then just accept it. You don't have to threaten the people and talk nasty to them, because you should have done your homework before you started making allegations of their job title and description. You don't threaten people about some damn dogs and cats. Because like I said, the sheriff knew the state of the property day one, June 15th, 2021. You've gone out there God knows how many times. You've had to see the cats, the dogs, the monkeys, the goats on the property. If you felt like they were being abused, neglected, you were supposed to have them seized June 15th. Stay woke. Is it that they didn't care? I don't know. But all I'm saying is the sheriff and all the 100 of people involved knew the state of the property June 15th. And I'm going to leave it at that. Well, I see that nobody wants to come up and give their commentary pertaining to this case, and that's fine. I'm going to check out of here. But I left the link open in the chat for anybody that wanted to give his or her opinion pertaining to this case. And I'm not going to stay any longer. Brittany, is there anything you'd like to say before I check out of here? I hadn't even heard that the sheriff was leaving food. That's very interesting information. Very interesting information. Thank you. Thank you, Pandora. Thank you so much, honey. I'll drop it one more time just in case. If not, I'm going to check out of here because this is a winded live. This is 3 hours, way longer than I wanted to be on. But I wanted to bring you all the old information up to current pertaining to the disappearance of the child, the girl child. And as you see, there's nothing new. And I really hate that it's come to this a year later. It really starts to make you wonder what in the hell happened to her. Did they kill this child? Discard her back there. If so, what was the motive? If it was an accident, why would you not call 911? Say your child was hurt. Did they sell the child and the child's alive somewhere here in America? But I do not believe she was, I don't know if I believe she was sold. I definitely don't believe she was abducted, and I don't know about human trafficking now. Thank you, sweetheart. I'm almost at the top of 3 hours. If you have something you'd like to say pertaining to the disappearance of Summer Wells, feel free to hit the link. If not, I'm going to check out of here and have a weekend planned with my classmates tonight. So that's my plans. Meet up with old acquaintances. Hope you all are well, staying warm, cool, and hydrated. Please drink lots of water. If you're going to be out running, exercising, golfing, or on a boat, or just out running errands, please drink lots of water. Try to stay away from sugary drinks because they will make you sluggish in this heat. And prayers for the missing. And also prayers for one of my stories I've talked about, which is Felicia Johnson. She is deemed dead. She was dismembered by a guy she went to meet in a hotel out in his apartment, Houston. So please pray for her family. Brittany, do you have something you'd like to say or no? Or can you talk? If not, I'm going to check out of here. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Spread Love. I plan to have a little fun, yes. I'm going to talk to some old friends, old acquaintances. So we're going to see what happens this evening. We're going to see who's gained weight, lost weight, crazy. You know how that is when you meet up with people you haven't seen in a long time. You start wondering like, damn, I thought my life was messed up. They ain't doing too good. No, I'm looking forward to seeing some old faces. Thank you, Cherie. Thank you all so much for tuning in. 3 hours in. Thank you for patronizing. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of information to play, you know, when you're recapping from yesterday, 1 year ago up until today. But nonetheless, the case is still relevant. The Amber Alert is still on, and it's still an open investigation. What I'm so fearful of is that we're going to get a bang pertaining to this case, just like Cal City, and just be like sick to our stomachs the day they decide to bring down an indictment pertaining to anybody involved in this case. Because the case with Cal City is just messed up. All that information they sat on, because I don't feel like they should have went a year not telling the public that they believe the children to be deceased. I just think that's foul. They didn't have to tell us it's the children being involved, but they could have just said, we have information that has led us to believe the children are no longer living. And then they should have left it at that. To go a whole year and not tell the general public that you know that the children are dead, it's baffling to me, because that's just crazy. People still gossiping and making up stories thinking the children were trafficked or kidnapped or sold or whatever. And all along, the kids been dead allegedly 3 months before they went to Cal City. So everybody's just been talking, wagging their tails and mouths, and the children have been dead. That's to me unacceptable. I mean, you didn't have to give us all the details, but you could at least said, hey, the children are deceased, and that's all we're going to tell you for right now. It's crazy to me. It's cruel, actually. Because, as I said, there are some people who are actually concerned about those boys, just like people are concerned about Summer Wells. Some people actually have good, true intentions and concern for the children. Yes, I think we will be floored, and that's what I'm afraid of. And after hearing the information pertaining to Cal City, I'm just very leery right now pertaining to Summer Wells. And now that TBI does not want to give any information pertaining to the children, the boys or Summer, this is not good. This is not good at all. Well, I guess nobody wants to join me. That's fine. I'll talk to you all on another day about some other subject matters. Brittany must be busy today. If they knew the children were dead, speak up. If you're not sure, keep it quiet. Well, they're now telling us now that the boys are dead. So it's just a matter of where they are. Where have they been discarded? And these two nimwits won't tell us that they killed the children, helped kill the children, or where the children can be found. And they have to know that the children have told on them. So I don't know why they're wasting taxpayers' money by playing these, games with the court. But I think they want their 5 minutes of fame in the courtroom. So we'll see how that pans out with the Cal City investigation. Next month should be the first hearing pertaining to Jacqueline and Trezell West, the middle of next month. So I'll bring you that said commentary when that information is revealed. I want to thank you all so much for joining me. Please have a safe weekend. Be safe out there. As I said, stay cool and hydrated. If you see something, say something. Mind the children. Be a part of the solution and not the problem. Prayers for Felicia Johnson's family. A very, very troublesome story out of Houston. Last I checked, the suspect is on the run. I have not gone in the past couple of days to see if he has been apprehended or not. But if you have any information, if he is still free, please call the Houston Police Department and Crime Stoppers. And if you want to donate your money to the reward for his capture, please donate if you can. Thank you all so much for following the content. God bless all of you. Stay safe. This is Everyday Shenanigans. Prayers for Summer Wells and our brothers. Amen.